Well, it's been one hell of a season 13 of Night Owl, and you join us with round six at Suzuka. It's been a crazy one. It's been a lovely one. This all comes down to this: a 90-minute final here at Suzuka. One round to finish off. What a track it is. You are joined in the box by Ted Edwards and Jesse Lee. On the cameras, we have the lovely Stewie as always, and it's been a nice season we've had here so far, Jesse.
Yeah, it sure is. Hello, Ted Edwards. Hello, everybody out there on RCI TV. Welcome in to the season finale practice, just finishing up for the day. And oh boy, it's gone rainy here all of a sudden in Suzuka, Japan. And that is because the weather quite changeable. They had weather in practice throughout the week. And it has shown up here. But season finale, it has been a fantastic championship. We'll talk more about the championship points a little bit later on after qualifying, but it's tight in both classes, Ted.
Sure is, and yeah, it's very exciting to see. But first, we've got the qualifying to do as we see Billy Octane for Triple R with 33 in the Porsche going out. Yeah, it's pretty wet. I've been hearing from drivers all week that it's been wet. Been having a little sneak peek, and there's been a few drops here and there, but it has been dry for the most bit. But yeah, they had a dry practice and straight into a wet quali.
Well, we hate to tease you for the time being, but we'll be right back. Going to have to deal with some back end stuff, and we'll be right back. Qualifying is still going to continue. We will not miss a thing. We will be right back in just a moment.
Oh, sorry about that interruption there. We've got a few gremlins running around, but I think Stewie's whacked them all away. Yeah, here we are back with the qualifying. 12 minutes left. Only 3 minutes gone, so you're not really missed much. But Billy Octane just setting, maybe not setting a lap, actually doing a flying lap now. So just have to see what it's like. As you see, it's very treacherous in these wet conditions. They've all been practicing on the dry. A few of them haven't even done any practice all week. And as you see, Billy Octane just losing it a bit there in the rear end, and luckily saves it from not hitting the wall. So should be able to go out for another one. Maybe not. Maybe he's going to go back to the pits and get some fresh tyres.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to continue to qualify on tires like that. Probably a rethink in the strategy department. You know what, Ted? This season has been so diverse. We started with Zolder. We went to Watkins Glen, went to Australia to the Mount Panorama, went to Valencia, the brand new track Monza 1 week ago. We ended Suzuka. That's a very diverse group of tracks. I love what you did with the grouping of tracks. Of course, for those of you uninitiated, Ted Edwards is the event manager of Night Owl as well as broadcast commentator here as well for the series. And I love what you do with the tracks. It's so very different. And because of that, we're not quite sure what we're going to get out of qualifying here tonight.
Yeah, I like to try and keep the tracks as like different as I can. You know, I don't want to have like too many British tracks in one, or too many like we have now, a load of American tracks. I don't want to shove 3 American tracks in and sort of get a little bit bored. But I like to try and mix them up. You know, we go to different parts of the world. It's a nice little adventure. And it's pretty hard when you try and look back through the old like previous seasons of Night Owl, and you have to try and plan out what track you want to go to. But it's worked out so far, and yeah, we've had some really good races. Valencia was pretty good, pretty chill though, to be fair. But yeah, better be chill there than having too much crashing there. Watkins Glen was a good one, and the round opener with Zolder was amazing. But yeah, it's Suzuka in the wet, and as you see the weather, it's getting drier in 10 minutes and no more rain in 13. If you don't know, this session does go straight on to the race, so we might have to start with a wet start maybe.
Yeah, we could have a wet start. That's very interesting as well because some series, you have practice on Friday, you have qualifying on Saturday, and then, of course, you have the race on Sunday. That's not the case here. Has that been consistent throughout the entire season of NIDA?
Uh, Past 2 seasons, it's been a Saturday practice and quali on Sunday with the race. Um, But yeah, before it used to be Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. So what weather you would see wouldn't be what you would get. So I thought I'd change it up a bit, see how people cope, and I think people quite like it because they can see what the weather's going to be like and what's going to be like for the start. The worst thing is, well, you could do qualifying on a Saturday, and it'll be dry, and then on the Sunday it's going to be raining, and you might not know. You're not really planned for it. Whereas you got you got like a good 15 minutes in the qualifying to figure out. Oh, I might need to set this up for wet or qualify in a different position.
Yep. Of course, qualifying is going to be very important. You wouldn't normally think that. We are here in Suzuka, Japan. It's a large track, one of the biggest in ACC. Not quite the biggest as far as I know, but still quite big. The only figure of 8 track we as well. I always love throwing that nugget of information. It blows people's minds because they don't think of it like that. But folks, this is a figure of 8 racetrack. No, the track doesn't intersect like it does at a demolition derby, but it does cross over. That is still a figure of 8. As a matter of fact, out of the Degners, we are approaching that part of the racetrack. Timothy Flamger set a really quick lap, but not as quick as Mike Redford at the top of the board in the 95 Honda, a 2:10.032. Decent times in these conditions, 3.5 tenths quicker than Olivier Kierton in second place, who would take the pole position in the pro class. Of course, remember, no overall points. It's all points in your class, Pro Silver.
Yeah, that is true. And as we can see here, if you look on the track, there is a dry line forming between the wet patches. As you see coming out this corner here at the spoon, it is nice and dry. So lap times will be improving. Redford's probably just got the start of the good laps, if you like. So it'd be nice to see the Honda on pole, especially a silver car. That'd be nice, but I'm expecting Jonathan Seville to blow us all away with a crazy lap time, as he usually does. But we just have to wait and see. We've still got 7.5 minutes left. Everyone's just going to keep improving. As I look over to my timing, I can see like everyone's improved. Jordan Daly's just gone top with a 2:09.205. So almost 9 tenths faster than Redford already, and Flamger is only just over 3.5 seconds behind Daly in the Porsche. So everyone's improving just that slight bit. Just who can improve the most in these conditions.
Certainly is. The track confirmed wet. I don't think we're going to see an improvement in the racetrack necessarily that we can visually see. The track may still prosper in some way by having 19 cars out on the racetrack. Mike Redford for Mike Racing not benefiting from that as they get it all wrong. I think that was in the triangle, unless my eyes deceive me. They have reset to the pit lane. Still more than enough time in this quali session to get out there, make some adjustments, get back out on the racetrack, and run a couple of laps. You got to get it done now, though, if you want more than one. Daly was at the top. Well, now it is Seville, proving that broadcasters know absolutely nothing. The track's certainly improving. A 2:08.1 even for Jonathan Seville, and that's more like it. That's your championship, well, should I say, Ted, co-championship leader. And again, you do get points for qualifying on pole of your category in RCI. So that would be the edge right now if he were to hang on to that pole.
Yeah, sure is. But, no spoilers just yet, Jesse. We'll wait until this qualifying's done and we can show those standings. It's pretty spicy for the top end of Pro, but I'll say no more. But yeah, Jonathan Seville just blowing us away. I told you, Jesse, he'll blow us away, and the track conditions were improving, but he never listens to me. But it's it's improving by a lot. A lot of people struggling. I think maybe tires are overpressured. they might have gone out on the wet, and then the sort of a dry line was forming. So your tires are gonna get, your wet tires are gonna get hotter. Your pressures are gonna inflate a lot more. So if they start ballooning, you're not gonna have the grip. So see a few people in the pit lane. Grimlin has just gone. John Daly's gonna not do another lap. Probably gonna go and change his pressures as well. So just Daly's only just 6 to 7 tenths off of a Seville, so he's improved quite a bit by, I think that's 3 tenths there. But he probably just wants to try and find that little bit extra.
Sure is. Malcolm, the quickest car in silver, and just as I say that, Paulo Martino in the 108 Speed.exe car goes to provisional pole in the silver class and goes to the second row on the overall grid. That is an excellent result for the man chasing Matthew Malcolm in the silver championship. Seville, who was on a lap, has returned to the pit lane. Again, just as Ted said, there's still time to return to the pit lane. There's no reason to panic. It's a long lap, 2 some minutes, but as long as you get out of the pit lane with about 2 minutes, 15 seconds, you should be able to get around and run a lap. It might not be the best outright lap because in these conditions, sometimes it takes several laps to get your tires into the optimum range. But again, you can mess with that with your PSI settings. Also, on top of that, of course, the changing conditions could also mean that that's not exactly beneficial. Just being out there could be beneficial. 23 degrees on the track, completely wet, no wind to speak of. Rain, I wouldn't call it torrential, but significant at this point. Seville and Daly, your top two. Olivier Kierton goes P3 with a 9.122, I believe that was. And that is your third quickest lap. Martino still quickest in the silver class. Donoso, the only car not set a time yet.
Yeah, I'm just looking across. I'm wondering why Timothy Flamger's pretty far back. They're 4 tenths off of Curtin, so just have to see what he can do in that Porsche, because I know he's a pretty quick driver. We've seen him win Night Owl, I believe, one point. I can't remember which season it was. We've had too many seasons. This is season 13 at this moment in time. So, this champ's been going on for a few years now, Jesse. It's hard to keep track of who's won and who's done well at different tracks and that.
I love Night Owl. I don't want it to go anywhere. We've had some down seasons and we've had some up seasons. This has certainly been an up season. 19 cars on the grid for the finale, and you may be wondering, 19 cars, is that good or not? I would consider that pretty decent retention for a 6-round championship, especially the time of year that it is taking place. Summer starting. Usually most series like our own, they see a downtick in the community engagement in this part of the season, but 19 cars more than enough to have a good race. They always said the first race took place after the second automobile was invented. So there you have it, 19 cars, all of them fighting the racetrack, fighting each other, and again, the pressure couldn't be more palpable because of what's on the line here tonight. 1 minute 55 at the line for Burak Yilmaz. As they come to the line, they set a way improved time as they go to P5. Mike Redford looking for an answer in that 95 Honda.
Sure is. And the 23s, they joined for this round only of Night Owl, which is nice to see. Mid-season signups are still a thing. If you see a championship you want to join, but round 1 or round 2 or round 3 is already gone, you can still join in. If there's a pre-quali, you just do the pre-qualifying. You sign up on the website, do the pre-qualifying, and then you're in for the next race and for the rest of the championship. Sometimes I don't need one. You can just sign up and just to make sure you practice so you don't end up causing problems. But yeah, it's a nice feature we have. That's Dewey put on the website, where you don't have to wait until the next championship.
Certainly is the case. One of the brilliant things that Racing Club International do is you don't have to set out an entire series. You miss a race or two, who cares? Sign up, join the race, or join the season mid-season. We've seen some success stories with that happening in the past as well. Drivers getting top 5 positions simply because they've joined the season. I think Christoph Verstappen did this at some point. Joined mid-season, couldn't make the first round or something like that. Obligation elsewhere. Join the season, mid-season, came back and finished on the overall podium of the championship after missing races. Of course, the drop round in certain cases helping as well. Another nugget that you get here at RCI, your worst finish gets omitted from the final standing. So if you weren't available for a round of the championship, then that doesn't count anyway. Final 5 seconds. Some cars are going to get an extra lap. Actually, no cars are going to get an extra lap because Burak Yilmaz is the leading car on the road coming through the triangle. Yilmaz was up into P5, has been knocked down quite a bit, looking to get the Squadra Corsa liveried car up back at least inside the top five. Does he do it? No, yes, he certainly does. Yilmaz does a 2:08.527. Forgot what line we were using.
Yeah, Jonathan Seville has not done any more laps. I think he's been stuck at the 208.1 for a while now. So yeah, he's taking a break. John Daly is in second. He's just over 2 tenths behind. Timothy Flamger proved me right. He's only 3 tenths behind Seville now as well. So them two are still going around. So they might be able to do quicker. Flamger, I don't think so. Flamger's in the pit lane now. Jordan Daly is going around. This is the car we are watching. He is up on his Delta. Hopefully, he can improve. And I want to see Daly take pole position. That would be a night owl miracle, really. But yeah, he's doing bits in that Mercedes there. Yeah, and like you say, 23rd and 4th, and Paulo Martino first in silver.
Just reading the chat as we always do here on RCI TV, and a couple of drivers, Malcolm in the chat, Mike Redford also in the chat, and they both have the same sentiment. Was up on my lap time and lost it all. Further comment from Redford. First hairpin in this car sucks. His words, not mine, but I do not doubt that one bit, Redford. Final seconds here. A couple of cars yet to come across the line. The 157, I believe, or actually, that's not even a car we have. That might be the 587. This is 151, actually, just came across the line. We ride on board Jordan Daly up on his lap time. The Just Gamers 197 Mercedes, waiting for the line. Not going to get fooled again. That's my favorite Who song. And he goes pole! A
It's a night
2-minute
owl miracle.
7.830. It's Night Owl, baby.
Hell yeah. Orlix goes from 17th to 15th as well in that silver class. But yeah, here is your standings for the Pro and Silver. We've got Jordan Daly, Jonathan Seville, and Timothy Flamger first, second, and third in Pro. Not that far apart with Daly and Seville. Daly taking pole at the last second. All three take a sector time. Daly with a third, Seville with a first, and Flamger with a second. Sorry. And then for silver, we got Paulo Martino in first, in sixth overall as well in that Mercedes, followed by Mark Redford in the Honda and Neil Pimlott in the BMW M4. So that's your top three in each class. It's a pretty nice grid we've got here tonight, Jesse.
You know, I respect Jordan Daly. I think he's a great talent and a great race car driver, but my goodness, I would have never called that. Well, we talked enough about the championship. It's time we show it to you here at the series finale. Ted, how's it looking for the last race?
Well, it's looking spicy, but it's not going to last like this for long. Jonathan Phil and Jordan Watson. Unfortunately, Jordan Watson is not here tonight. Already used 2 signups, so he will be out of the championship altogether. So someone is going to take that second place, but both of them are on 202 points. IPEC is on 193 in third. Timothy Flamger, Jordan Daly, 190 and 186 points. They are so close, 4 points apart, which is pretty good. You got Phil Roberts, Danny Moffat, and Oliver Curtin, 6th, 7th, and 8th, 140 points for Phil, 138 for Moffat, and 106 for Curtin. They're pretty close. Moffat and Phil Roberts can have a little fight for 6th place, maybe 5th place, depends how it goes out at the end. 9th and 10th is Huel and Lilith with 103 and 97. That rounds out your top 10 in the pro class. On to the next lot, we've got Billy Octane and Burak. They both have 0 points. Billy Octane couldn't make it last weekend, but has made tonight. Burak has joined us for the last round. They both have no points, and everyone you see here with a dash has signed out of the season. Jesse, would you like to do the silver standings for us?
Sure thing. This is why the pole position was important. Matthew Malcolm in the driver's seat in that 199 Ferrari 296 GT3, 215 points to their name, but Paolo Martino qualified in front of him today. So Martino has some points already today. That gap was 14 points. It is less than that now. Alexander Ulrichs takes the third place position, 178 points. Yao Manso in fourth place, 162. Mike Redford outside in the top five, 153. A few points behind them, fellow Brit Neil Pimlott in sixth place, 151. George Kiakowski on 135 in seventh. TL Mustak with 113 in eighth place. Thomas Allen in ninth place with 111. Gary Barham with 95 points rounds out your top 10. Man, that top 10 looks like the British are coming. I'd be very, very afraid if I was anybody else. Fred Ferreira with 88 points in 11th place. Chris Wilson on 84, tied with Donoso for 12th place. Ben Law has 46. As you can see, everyone else has retired from the championship. You know what, Ted? I love seeing drivers. You saw Yilmaz join the championship. That is exactly what we were just saying in qualifying. You love to see somebody join late, get in your racing while you can, not restrictive here, able to join for the last race and already doing bits.
Yeah, it's this thing you can treat that driver will treat this as like a one-off race, a one-off hour and a half race. So it's just it's nice to see, people joining. Even if you can't make all the rounds and you can only make two or three of them in the championship and you have to sign out of the rest, you still have two sign outs. You still have the drop round. So that you're not losing out on anything by joining late. We welcome it, big time. So it just helps us out with our championships. We lose a few people during the season, but then we gain some from the mid-season. So it's a pretty nice feature we have.
Yeah, of course, you can't expect to retain all of the drivers. I don't think I've ever broadcasted a series where we've kept every single team or driver. So it's just an inevitability of life. But 19 cars strong here for Night Owl season finale and around Suzuka. And you can see what we can see. It is confirmed wet. And as we drive by the cars, they appear to be on dry tires. Now, I think that is because they haven't dropped the jacks. The cars look like they're still up on the jacks, so we will not have an accurate display of what their tire choice is until they drop it. I would suspect those Pirelli P0 sidewalls will disappear. Very easy to see a wet tire from a dry tire. The 199 on wet tires, you can see because there is no Pirelli lettering. The Bentley there very clearly on dry tires at the time, but that is probably down to it being default and not being changed thus far. Changeable conditions, as always, in Night Out. It's going to be a big topic. Does anyone dare to take dries here?
It is the question, isn't it, Jesse? We can see at the moment the what the weather is doing on our radar. You cannot, but will we let you in? As you saw, it was still raining at the end of qualifying. It's still raining now, as you can see. The raindrops coming down in front of the camera. We got 10 minutes until cloudy, so rain will stop. But that doesn't mean the track will just go instantly dry. But with this amount of cars, it will have a decent dry line on it. But yeah, it's one of those things, Jesse, is if you take wets, you need to lower the PSIs a lot, and then you got to think about doing a pit stop for dries if it doesn't rain again, because you don't want to overheat the tires. They get too hot, they don't work anymore. You start sliding everywhere. But if you take dries, then you got to be really careful on the first 3 or 4 laps, depending on how long this rain lasts, and how quickly the dry line comes up. But you also need to pump your pressures up than you would normally have for a dry track, because it's cold, wet, and tires are gonna be really, really low. So there's a lot of things these drivers have got to think about with their setups right now. Do they adjust the wings? Do they adjust ride heights? Do they do they change? What tires do they go on? What PSI do they go on? So there's a lot to think about, and it's pretty overwhelming when you only have about 5 minutes on the grid, to set yourself up.
So, why are we talking about using dry tires when it's very clearly wet? It's very clearly raining. This weather's changeable. I briefly mentioned that, but did not explain myself very well. This is going to change. Do you chance it by staying out here as long as you can and hoping it changes? With this many cars going around the track, it could change quite rapidly. Or do you do the safe bet, go on the wet tires, which is what I would probably tell any team of mine to do, and just make the change in the pit stop? And I think that's what you will largely see. But it is worth the question. It is worth the conversation. We have seen it go both ways in the past. Looking at the sidewalls of all the tires I can see up here in the box, it looks like they have all selected the grooved wet tires. I am happy to be wrong in this case, but definitely that is what my eye sees. Weather changing every 10 minutes or so. We will keep you posted as they go out on the siding lap here. The next time through, they will go green. Ted Edwards, time to play the game, as we always do. Who is your money on today? Does Jordan Daly get it done, or does somebody else have the finishing power?
I want to put my money on Flamga again. I've done that before and it's not paid off. But I would go with my friend Daly, but I feel like that's choosing your friends. I'm gonna choose Flamga. And another reason is he's in the Porsche. I like.
Okay. I think that is interesting. That's perfectly fair. I was going to pick Daly, and not for the reason you might think. I'm going to pick Daly because he is in a front-engined car in these conditions right now. I think he'll be able to make a little bit more hay than anybody else, open up a little bit of a gap. Now, what happens in the second half of the race? Well, we don't know until Mother Nature tells us what it's going to be like. I think Daly does it. I think he benefits from having a front-engine car in a sea of mid-engine racers.
So you've used your brain, and I've just gone for because I like Porsches.
I think you didn't want to seem biased and you didn't pick Daly. I picked Daly simply because I am quite fond of front-engine cars in this weather condition. You can't see, very wet, no reason for any driver to take the dry tire at this point. And because our broadcast producer, Stewie, hasn't yelled at me yet, it tells me I am correct in that assumption.
I can tell you one thing though, Jesse, rain has stopped and apparently the track is only damp. So, Greenland Lift just want to be next to Daly. Just for some other photographers out there on the track today. But yeah, I wonder how those wet tires are going to hold up. If the rain has stopped now, that means the dry line's going to come pretty quickly. You know, we've got 19 cars on track, so have to see how these guys deal with this condition, because we haven't had this for a while, Jesse. This sort of starting. You know, where people start on wets, but it's, you know, the rain has stopped. It's just one of those annoying ones for the drivers. I know I've had it once or twice. It's very rare, and you just don't know what you want to do with yourself. You know, because there is a pit stop requirement for this race that we will get into in a few minutes once this race has started, and is sort of spread out a little bit. We will get into it, but until then, we have to watch these cars come round to 130R and then up to the chicane, and have to see how the start goes, Jesse.
Well, they're grouping up 2 by 2 as they will before they get to 130R. They're sorting out their cars, the final adjustments just before we get going tonight, folks. Just want to say thank you for being with us tonight. Not only tonight, but this entire season. We hope you've had as much fun in this series as we had. Ted and I, we love bringing you this series. Stewie begrudgingly does it to not disappoint us or something. He has to put up with us 6 weeks out of his life in a row, so God bless him. But we appreciate it. We love having you here, and let's do it one more time. The 90-minute finale of Night Owl Season 13. Ted, take it away.
Well, here we come around the last corner. Everyone grouping up, everyone 2 by 2. Daily leads with Seville with Flamga. We come up to the start-finish line. Hear those engines roar. And off they go for 1.5 hours of racing around Suzuka in these damp conditions. As you look at top right, it is damp, it is warm, but as we see here, built on the outside, Daily on the inside. That flank, that's the 23 trying to get on it. Flank has gone back. I think Groom Lilith has gone up in places where Groom Lilith is into third, as you see there. 2x2 coming to here. Billy Octane is off on the grass. Got back on safely by the looks of it. Still 2x2 at the back end of the field. Spread out at the front, so it's people getting some good traction. People not getting such a good traction out of first corner into the little snake, as I like to say. Still 2x2 coming up to this left-hander here, and not been too bad so far, Jesse. We haven't seen many contacts, but
no, it's been pretty good. Octane and Moffitt side by side for a little bit. Billy Octane going off the racetrack, rejoining, and then contact with Moffitt. I think didn't expect him to still be there, and that was the cork in the bottle situation. And coming through the Degners, near contact there, 3 wide as they exit that corner and come down into the hairpin. They'll have to sort that out. You don't even want to be 2 wide, let alone 3 wide, as they nearly do get back to single file still. One car threatening around the outside for the time being. Daly got away cleanly. Seville and Lilith, he was the big winner, was Grimm on that start, able to get to P3. Yilmaz up to P4, or in P4, I should say. Flamker inside the top 5 still. Alexander Ulrichs, this is where the business is getting done as they come through Spoon. Ulrichs looks down the inside, thinks about it, doesn't want to trouble IPEC here, falls back in line, gets back on that damper, drier line. Nearly every car on wet tires, but Mike Redford, I don't know if he was telling us in chat if he did put dry tires on that car. We'll have to confirm the sidewalls, but a message in chat saying me dries. I'm quite curious if Mike Redford did decide to do that. That would be a game changer. A little bit of a slip up here from Flamger. That's going to allow Billy Octane down the inside, and it's going to be easy peasy, beautiful cover girl. Billy Octane through the Triple R Porsche.
yeah, look at that Estonian go in that Porsche. He's liking the Porsche recently. He's been driving it quite a bit, I have heard. But just looked at Seville and Grim Lilith's firewalls, and Grim's on the wet, Seville's on the dry. So I think that's why Seville's dropped off a Daily. Not sure what Daily's on at the minute, but Grim Lilith is right in Seville's rear view mirror, which was pretty odd to see, knowing that Seville is pretty fast. But I think he's just trying to get those tyres working in these conditions. But just have to see, as you see, yeah, Grim Lilith with the black wall and Seville with the yellow around side of their tyres. So it's one of those games of what tyre do you take, and as you see, quite a few people are taking different tyres. But yeah, it's just one of those games that I don't like playing, Jesse.
Well, what you're seeing here, I know this is a weird setup, and you will have to forgive us, but what our broadcast producer's doing is you can actually tell what tires are. You don't actually have to look at the sidewalls. Look at the right part of the screen. It tells you what tires they were on, and that's what Stewie was doing, cycling through the cars. Several cars in the field, much to my broken eyes, they are on dry tires. They predicted this. They knew it was 10 minutes of rain. They sat through 5 of that on the grid. Another couple of those ate up by the pace lap, of course, at about 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. And that ate up the majority of that time. It stops raining, and all of a sudden the track is damp. It hasn't quite gone to greasy or green as quickly as I would have thought, but it is still a damp racetrack. The wet tires will still be working here, but very quickly you will see those that gambled on those dry tires. They're going to end up the big winners here, I believe.
Yeah, just confirming that. Yeah, Billy Octane and Grimm are on the wets, and obviously they are talking in each other's ears, as I believe, with Jordan Daly. So it's it was a bit obvious that they would take the same tyres each other, being in the same car. But I would have gone dries any day. As you see a car on the right there, trying to get some of that wet line, and car in the pit lane, I think that was. Which brings me on to our pit requirements. It's Matthew Malcolm in the pit lane. Pit requirements: 1 mandatory pit stop with 1 litre of fuel. Pit windows 1 hour and 15 minutes, so about 7 or so minutes into the race, it opens, and then same when it closes 7 or so minutes. So they don't have to take any tires, Jesse. They don't have to do the 25-second uh, fuel fixed fuel time. It's just literally a liter, so they can do what they like. But the pit stop's in there just in case they want to take tires. But yeah, that's another rule which I changed. Was normally it would be you have to take tires in this 1.5 hour race for the final, but I decided that no, let's let the drivers decide what they want to do. Do they want to try and run an hour and a half on the same tire set? If you're running dries, that's probably a good idea, seeing as the weather for the next half an hour is going to be dry, no rain. But you know, if you're on the wets now, you're definitely going to be pitting. I think Matthew Malcolm has changed his tires from the wets to the dries. That's why he could.
Yeah, I think there's a third option too. If you started on the dries here tonight, you have a third option. You can come in and get yourself what is essentially a free set of brand new dry tires, because if you don't do that, the last 30 minutes of the race, your tires are going to start to give up. They're going to give up quite a bit as opposed to those that came in and changed to dries later on in the race. You changing your tires to a second set of dries doesn't really lose you anything. That is the third option here tonight. I would say of those that have selected to start on dries, you're going to see a mixed strategy of that. You're going to see some that are going to tough it out for those extra 30 minutes, and you will see some that will take their free set of tires here at the end of the race, sort of the last 30 minutes or so. Daly still leads Seville. Seville, the quickest car on the racetrack. The Speed Juice fastest lap of the race award to the 97. Was there a little bit of contact here off of the racetrack, or 3 wide? Rejoin. Nothing untoward here. Just one car off of the track there a little bit. Kwiatkowski.
Yeah, Kwiatkowski and Pimnot in the Rossi liveried M4. I think I think Pimnot followed Kwiatkowski through 130R and probably just got the dirty air off the rear of him and sort of just went wide with him. And luckily, they didn't have any contact from what I hear in my ear, but yeah, it's just going off track like that loses you a few positions, and especially at that corner, the fastest corner on the track, where you know, if you do go, oh, who is this? Chris Wilson. What happened to this fellow in the Porsche? Let's see, catching the curb. Oh, it's a wet curb still, I would say. Still greasy track. Luckily, it doesn't hit any of the barriers. I think he stalls the car. There you go, gets it going again, luckily. But yeah, it's just wet curbs are still wet. This track is still greasy, so those dry tires are still trying to, you know, get back up to pressure. Yeah, up to pressure and temperature. Don't forget, temperature is a big factor in this 1.9 update. Where they did open the ranges a little bit more, 70 degrees to 100 degrees, but if you go lower than 70, it does not work very well. If you go over 100, obviously it gets more slidey. So, especially on these track conditions, Jesse, trying to get those tire temps in the right, you know, optimum range is pretty difficult.
Keep in mind, post 1.9, the tire temp range that you're trying to hit also moved. It was somewhere in the mid 27s in 1.8. It's somewhere lower than that. Of course, the wet tire, also its own bag of tricks as well of what temperature you need those to run at. Obviously not 27 degrees with those tires. So everybody now, though, it is on the wet tire. Their tires are going to start to boil over just a bit. And the question is, with the pit window open and the one mandatory stop, they're going to take tires, all those cars with wets on. But the question is, when do you come in? When is the right time? The time might be nigh for Jordan Daly, as Jonathan Seville for Pulse Sim Sport has caught the Just Gamers 197 out in front of this field. And somehow both Ted and me slept on Seville. We picked Flamger and Daly and forgot about the Pulse Sim Sport driver.
Yeah, we sure did. Flamger down to 7th, Jordan Daly on the wets, struggling a little bit. Seville on the dries. Just shows you track's gone from damp to greasy. Greasy just helping those dry tires a little bit more. Oh no!
Oh, that's not good. That is not good.
Oh,
you don't want to
no.
see that. Jonathan Seville misjudges the corner and punched Jordan Daly off in the Deckners, and he knows it too. He stopped immediately.
He slammed those brakes on, yeah, and it was a 5.7 second gap you see from Seville to Grim Lilith, but it's all bunched up again now after that punt, and Daly's not going to be happy. He doesn't like it when stuff like that happens, but I think Seville just either caught a wet patch still, a greasy patch on those dry tires and just slid a bit. Maybe they're not up to his optimum pressure that he wants. Um, so could be anything that could have happened there, or it could have just been like you said, just a late break-in, or daily early break-in. You don't know what happened there, but yeah, Seville, he obviously knows he was so in the wrong there. We don't have live stewarding, so this is all going to be post-race done from the drivers doing their own reports. So Seville was very polite to wait there, and normally we would have stewards look at it, and that would be a 15-second penalty. If Seville didn't stop, it would have been a drive-through, I believe. Daly's just going a bit deep there again, and Seville trying to get up on the inside. Seville does go through. Daly's coming into pit lane to change tyres and probably repair that rear end damage because that diffuser is pretty broken.
Scary moment right there. We only got to see it live as it happened, but contact between the two of them, either Daly was caught unawares by what Seville was doing, or Seville was caught unawares by what Daly was doing, one way or the other. They sorted out amongst themselves in a gentlemanly like fashion. Seville makes the pass on the racetrack. Daly comes in for what I can only assume is a set of Pirelli P0 dry tires. That will bring Yilmaz into P2 and Grim Lilith into P3 in the 115. Billy Octane inside the top five. Timothy Flamker completes that top five. Paolo Martino, unrivaled in the silver class right now, has got a 3-second lead over Mike Redford, who is a couple of spots behind him, and you've got Danny Moffat in between the two of them. You got to go all the way down to 13th to find Alexander Ulrichs, who's P3 in that class, under threat from Neil Pimlott for the time being. At third place, still very much up for grabs in silver.
Sure is, and yeah, Daly and Kwiatkowski in the pit lane. Daly has got going now, which was a 1 minute 12 stop. No, that was Matthew Malcolm. I am sorry, he has not gone across the line. 1 minute 21.8, so not too bad of a stop, but a lot of that was the damage does come out ahead of Matthew Malcolm. Has completed his mandatory pit stop. Him and Kwiatkowski are the only two to do so. But yeah, just looking at Grim Lilith and Billy Octane, they're sliding around everywhere, whereas Dimitri Flamka looks like he's pretty planted at this moment in time. Going through the first corner, Billy Octane was pretty slidey, rear end snapping out. Through Degners, he was a bit slidey as well. So those wets maybe not got as much grip as they did at the start of the race, but have to see what their plan is. Pit window is obviously open, so like I just said, you can do your mandatory stop, get that done with. But if your wet tyres are holding on, Jesse, you're probably trying to eke it out a bit more, unless your times are depleting.
Yeah, that's the thing. If your wet tires are hanging on, if you have a little bit of confidence, you see Danny Moffat here doing the common strat, trying to find the water on the racetrack to keep those tires alive. All that really does is cool them down. You don't want to overheat them. That just exacerbates the problem with the wear rate. The cooler you can keep your tires, that is more beneficial to the longevity of the rubber. But to your point, you're absolutely right, Ted. If you can keep these alive for another 16 minutes, that's a tall order. But if you can do that, you can do a one-stop strategy and not worry about being in a tire deficit at the end of this race. There's no two stopping. There's no even thought of that if you're able to hang on. But it is a long, hard 16 minutes around a big old fast racetrack.
Yeah, sure is, and I think what you would need around here, Jesse, is I think you would need a Ghost Setups around here, which is one of our partners here at RCI. And
are you joining the shill wars?
I need to join the crew, But yeah, Ghost Setups, they have some fabulous setups. They use a few of them in the past and still do. They've
got wet Suzuka setups.
They've got wet Suzuka setups. They sure do. They've just released as well the new 720S Evo setups as well. I think they're all out and done now, so nice of them to do that. All the Porsches and now done. Jordan Daly in the pit lane. Hang on a minute, we'll stop the shilling for this moment in time. Why has Jordan Daly stopped? Coming across the start finish line, coming to T1. Looks all fine. Oh no, he's just stopped. Unless he's too hot. It is very hot over here in the UK at this moment in time. We're having a little bit of a heat wave, so maybe he stopped for that reason. He has also pulled the garage door down on that car. That is unfortunate, as we see here. A fight with Phil Roberts in the middle of it, with Phil Moffat and IPEC at the rear. Oh, Phil
Oh,
Roberts
how are
sticking
they
his
making
big
it?
Bentley nose in there. Fortunately
Oh
outside.
my
Oh, Phil Roberts
goodness!
makes it. We see Moffat going off into the pit lane. Going to go on some drives, I'd say.
How?
That was
How in the
mad.
world did Phil Roberts make that work? That is a country mile of Bentley
Oh my
and
God.
somehow making it work. A little bit of a fight down to the inside. Huell trying to make the pass back on the big Bentley, unable to do it. Phil Roberts 2 for 1. That's a BOGO. He says, thank you very much.
But yeah, where was I? Oh, chilling time. Go setups. They have setups for all skill levels. They've got some safes, they've got some esports, and also they've got some wets that are pretty good to use as well. You can go and visit them in the description below. But yeah, I've used a few, Jesse. I don't know if you've used any, but they are pretty
Absolutely.
top notch. You know, if you don't know how to build setups and you just need a quick, easy setup, just they've got a subscription plan. I think you can just buy like one set of setups, or you can go for the subscription, which you have like so many downloads or something a month. You can download what you want, and it's yeah, the setups help you drive the car. You don't have to go for the esports setups. You can go for safe ones, but they are pretty.
Well, welcome Ted Edwards to the Shill Words. Welcome Timothy Flamger trying to get by Grim Lilith. Grim made that as easy
Yeah.
as humanly possible. He's
Oh,
going to get touched here.
Redford.
Car behind. Mike Redford's going to have contact. That's going to be a spin for Mike Redford for the Mike Racing
Who's that
95 Honda.
Volvo?
I have no idea. This is in Spoon, of course. You could see, just let him have it, so to speak, and has to back off there and just
Oh, that's
dives in there.
Redford.
Mike Redford and turns himself. That is not what you want to do. That's not how he drawed it up, but it is unfortunately the reality. Olivier Kierton trying to go the long way around the outside. Grim not allowing them to have, so to speak, the inside. That's excellent track knowledge, knowing that eventually the triangle is going to come into the final turn. Actually, that's not what it is at all. Grim Lilith coming into the pit lane. He put himself in a position where he wouldn't be boxed out of pitting.
Yeah, that's very clever. I was about to say, he needs to pit. He's losing so much time from the front runners. I think if he started on dries, he would have been up there. He would have been really flying, but unfortunately, he's had to pit for those dry tires because track is now green, so it's pretty dry out there. It's not up to the optimum as as the drivers like it. But from that incident there with Redford and Grim, we obviously saw Grim was struggling a bit and left the door open, went for it, and as he went for it, Grim decided to close the door, which is he can do. It's Redford is the car that's trying to overtake, so he should be the one that's a bit cautious. But yeah, I think if we had the live stewards, I think they might have called that a racing incident because Redford took himself out, but pretty sure that would have been Redford's fault.
Well, I will not speculate further, but I will say Mike Redford probably frustrating himself a little bit, trying to figure out in his head what on earth was going on in front of him. Probably just expected them to go into the corner, and there was a little bit of a backup. We saw from the helicopter cam exactly what happened. There was a little bit of a log jam. Maybe Redford didn't see exactly what happened there. Went for a move, didn't come off contact. I think we can all agree Redford paid the price for it. Now behind several cars. He wasn't previously behind, and of course, put him into the grips of Neil Pimlott.
Getting excited, Jesse. You've seen the weather. 30 minutes light rain is going to hit us. So if you started on dries, you're loving the race right now because you haven't done a pit stop like Grim Lilith, Billy Octane, Paulo Martinho. You've got Danny Moffat, Kikowski.
Oh my goodness! Sorry, Levin IPEC was not, and he's still not on the racetrack.
Jesus.
Levin said, "I paid for every inch of the racetrack. I'm using it, even the runoff, off the racetrack here, not set up for 130R."
Sleep?
No, he didn't fall asleep. He's using every inch of the track he paid for.
Well, I lost him some time there, and let's see who came out ahead of that. I think,
Good recovery, though, admittedly.
True that, yeah. He also hit the gravel, but yeah, rain. So whoever started on dries is loving life right now because they get a free tire swap. All the other drivers that have done the tire swap now have to do another tire swap, which means wasting, a minute 15 in the pit, or a minute 10, or however long it is, depending on if you get your pit stop right. So it just goes to show, getting that you know, starting on the right tires at the beginning, you know, changes how your race goes. And it's not always easy, as we saw. At the start of the race, it said it was going to be dry in 30, and now it's going to be wet in 30. So just have to see how the drivers cope with this one. As we see Raphael Huell all over the rear end of Roberts in that big old Bentley. Can't see what's past him, which corner's next, and that. Just has to remember where the track goes, Jesse, because that rear end of the Bentley is pretty chunky.
Well, this battle hasn't gone away. It's Thunderbird 2 versus a dinosaur, as it would turn out. I'm not talking about Raphael Huell. I'm talking about the paint job on that car. Oh, two cars nearly taking themselves out in the background. That is Mike Redford and Levin Ipek racing each other off of the raceable surface here. They get back on without further incident, but close calls here in Spoon for yet another lap. But what I was saying about Phil Roberts is doing an excellent job realizing that there's certain parts of this racetrack where Huell's quicker, but very quick to close him off, to take a defensive line and not allow Raphael Huell to prosper from that. That's professional driving.
Well, if you need some help with your driving, then the Driver 61 is your place to go. They help sim racers for the potential on the track, from one-on-one driver coaching to full-on driving courses. People at Driver 61 are pretty good. I think, have you done some Driver 61? Just I know some of our staff have, and has helped them out with their racing on the track. Driving closer with people. And that's a very hard thing to do, as we see a car go off there. But yeah, you can.
That's in the Degners.
Sure is, but you can use our code for 25% off driver coaching using discount code RCI coaching D61 on their website. But yeah, that's just going a little bit deep. As you see, Grim Lilith trying to get around Paulo Martinio. Yeah, did you use Driver 61, Jesse?
I tell you what, I've raced with admins here at RCI on the same team as drivers that use Driver 61, and I raced with them before they had Driver 61 one-on-one coaching, and I raced with them after. And I can tell you, in all honesty, this is not an ad. They were better on the other end of that one-on-one with the Driver 61 one-on-one coaching. They were smarter drivers, they were more put-together drivers, more consistent drivers, and quicker to boot. So it absolutely works. I was flabbergasted. I was blown away at how much better some of my teammates got.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like, you can do a 20-minute race perfectly and you can be fine, but when you do an hour and a half race, your stamina might not be up to it. Your head might not be thinking well enough. You're driving. You can see here Raphael Huell following Phil Roberts. You've got to remember his braking points, but he's got to brake early on the brake, but you can half brake it so you don't lose too much time. And you see here right in the rear end of Phil, you don't want to get on the throttle too much, as you might hit Phil, send him off, and you've got a penalty coming your way. It's just about knowing these things, and if you don't, then Driver 61 is the place to go. Get some coaching going. It will just make you a better driver. It is hard to do this. You can practice, but until you get into a proper race like this, you're not going to know what you like.
25% off by using our discount code, link in the description of the video and the live stream. We appreciate you guys becoming better sim racing drivers and using the discount code. We appreciate it doubly because it puts on more great racing like this. Kevin Boss joins us in chat saying, a little bit late, have the boys been behaving? It's night out, Kevin Boss, and you know that they never do. It has been a wild start. Started in the wet and dried off quite quickly, but rain still in 30 minutes. Some drivers started on wet tires. A lot of them have already come in. Some started on dries. They have not come in yet. We thought there were a couple of strategies that could be employed but now it is very obvious what they're going to have to do with rain in less than 30 minutes. They're going to have to come in bold wet weather tires on. And for those that started on wets, they're going to be the ones that have to make the second pit stop to re-put the wets on the car at some point. The track has gone green and it is wreaking havoc. We're seeing a couple of cars going off. We saw Donoso make a harrowing outside move, giving the Degners. I haven't seen that since Super GT, not the YouTuber, the racing series proper. It's been a long time since I saw somebody try to do that, and it almost worked. I think they surprised the Porsche that they were even out there, caused them to be forced off the racetrack. Phil Roberts holding strong inside the top 5, keeping Raphael Huell at bay. Levin Ipek might be catching up to this battle, and in fact is. They're bringing Neil Pimlott and Orlix with them to boot.
Pimlott? Wow. Okay.
Sometimes I don't speak English, not my first language.
Oh, poor Jesse. But yeah, it's a different races. You know, an hour and 4 minutes. A few people done pit stops. So they're sort of spread out. Apart from this group here, you got 3 pros and 2 silver drivers. You know, they've got first and second in silver. Pimlott in first, Orlix in second in the silver class. They're fighting it out. And then yeah, you got 5th, 6th, and 7th in pro, just trying to, you know, Phil's just trying to hold on to that Bentley. It's not the easiest car to drive. To be honest, I haven't drove it like properly ever. Only doing some hot lapping and stuff, but.
Oh man, they both drove off the racetrack, exiting Degner 1. Look at the move here. Raphael Huell gets to the inside of the Dunlop curve, and he's just going to pass him. And I think it was surrendered a little bit by Phil Roberts, but both of those cars just about left the racetrack. The track may be green, but folks, bear in mind, the painted surfaces of the track, the grass, the curbs, they are still wet. That is a dangerous proposition. Adna Pusina joins us saying that couldn't be in the race tonight, still in Normandy. You know the war ended in 45, don't you? But rather besides, safe travels back home, Pusina, and we hope to see you in Night Out Season 14. Ed Edwards, do you have more on that?
Ooh, yes. Yeah, I released it today. Season 14 will be starting in the next few weeks here at Night Out. So Phil Roberts getting a big old slide through 130R. Oh, IPEG just getting stuck behind. Pimlott's trying to go for the outside, and it's too wide with Pimlott and IPEG. This is getting spicy. We try and talk about stuff, Jesse, and everything starts.
Yeah, the drivers know. The drivers know.
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying the drivers absolutely know. They pick the most opportune time to interrupt us. This is what happened to Phil Roberts. It's a big old Scandi flick. That'd be excellent if it's a rally course. It isn't a rally course. It's a paved permanent circuit. But what a recovery from Thunderbird 2. And that gets Pimlott and Orlix side by side. And I thought they were going to make contact. They didn't, as far as I could tell. And it all sorts itself back out. A scary moment for Roberts, but well held.
Yeah, drift of the night so far. Might see some more when the rain comes. 30 minutes heavy rain. Oh, it's gonna get spicy. Okay, I just had a ears medium. Stewie telling me off. This is what it feels like, Jesse, isn't it? Getting told off by Stewie. But yeah, season 14 of Night Owl starts on June 24th. Sign-ups open tomorrow, 12 p.m. BST. If you go onto our website, racerci.com, you can see the championship there. All rounds are hidden, but round 1 will be Suzuka. It is the tradition of Night Owl where the final round of a championship is the first round of the next one. But all the other rounds will be hidden until sign-ups close. But yeah, the website will put the time of the sign-ups opening into your local time. There's a nice addition that Stewie added for you guys. So a 5-round champ, just something to send us into the summer. And yeah, it's gonna be hopefully gonna be fun.
I gotta tell you, what I'm seeing out of Raphael Huell, I'm just watching that green monster drive around this racetrack. He is flirting with the edge of almost every single one of these corners. What does that tell me about Raphael Huell's car? It must be driving pretty good, that number 21 Porsche, because to be on the edge the way it is, it's like it's a completely dry racetrack, like there's not a drop of water out there, and of course, it is a lot less wet than it was 15 minutes ago. but that just tells me Huell has ultimate confidence in his car, in his ability, and he's not going over the limit, but he's doing stuff that not every other driver, most drivers aren't doing at this point because they're not as confident as Raphael is.
That's true. Raphael's a really good driver. He's been in Night Owl for God, good good 7 seasons, I would say, or more. There's a few drivers here. Little Pimnot's been in here since the AM class, and we don't have an AM class anymore. We used to have two races going on at the same time, but fortunately that's calmed down a bit after the lockdown. But we still have a good 18 drivers driving around this track in the final of the 6-round championship. But yeah, Grimlid has been in this for a while. Hirkowski's been here for a while. Jonathan Ville's been here before. Timothy Flamger's been here in silver class. And yeah, there's just so many drivers that we get to know over the different champions, not just Night Owl. A lot of these drivers drive in Friday Champ, Monday Champ. It's and the one-offs we have, and it's just nice to see returning drivers.
Well, it's going to be an interesting season 14 for all of you. We'll be back, by the way, for season 14.
Yeah.
RCI's longest running series, Night Owl. We didn't draw it up like that, folks, by the way. It just happened that Night Owl became the longest running series in a community, a club, if you will, with very long running championship series such as the Friday Championship as well, which of course also will return for the next Friday Champ as far as I know. Neil Pimlott continuing to pound around in the 151. They're the leading silver car, but bear in mind, Paolo Martino qualified on pole in his 108 Mercedes. He came in down pit lane somewhat early and put on dry tires. All these cars still out here are trying to make it to whatever window they feel like they need to make it to. I think IPEC here is still on the wet tires. Now, a green racetrack, this is very dangerous to stay on those tires. They're going to give up grip. They're going to go down to the cords, and it's going to become quite a bit of a problem. Just hoping that maybe the rain comes sooner than later. We suspect it's about 15 minutes out right now, the weather. And by the way, it's not going to start drizzling. It is going to come down in a hurry. 2 lines of rain is moderate rain, not light rain. It'd be 1 line if it was light. It is not that. Track's improving now, but it won't be like that for long. And to my point about the silver class, I have no idea who's on the right strategy.
Yeah, that's the thing. IPEC might be on those interwets that we seen at F1 a few years ago, but just have to see how they go. I don't know when you can puncture a tire. I know Phil Roberts in Monday Champ, he was driving the M2 and he got a puncture, but that wasn't being on wet tires. I think that was good for being on dry tires, and he got a puncture at the end of a 60-minute race. So I don't know how punctures work anymore. I've had one before, but that was overheating tire a hell of a lot, and the PSIs were through the roof. Obviously that's all changed now with the various tire updates we've had, and obviously the new physics for the 1.9. So just have to see if anyone does get a puncture, and it's very noticeable that that side of the car drops. And funny enough, the puncture I got was here, and it was in Degner 1. I went off into the gravel on the left, and the car almost got beached, which was pretty funny. Even at the time I was laughing my head off and trying to get the car out, but it can happen.
Certainly can. Seville leading us, and again, this is one night where it might not matter. We talked about the pit strategy and we talked about the weather, but several cars, Billy Octane, the leader among them, that have completed their pit stop, that's unlikely to matter here tonight, which is why I told you with the silver class, I don't know exactly what's going to happen or who's on the right strategy, because I don't know what the right strategy is yet. History hasn't written that. The pit, the mandatory pit, completely superfluous to the plot of this race tonight. Everyone's going to have to come in at least once, no matter what strategy they were on. And again, the right strategy yet to be crowned. Rear wing of 11 IPEX 224 Audi, looking back at Alexander Ulrich's 587 Ferrari, and you can tell that the car is beating, Ulrich's car is beating IPEC into every corner, but just getting off the corner just a little bit better. That's exactly what I'm talking about. A little bit of a twitch from Ulrich there, leaving the Dunlop corner, and that is exactly proof in the pudding. One good on one part of the corner, one good on the other, and that is what you got. Of course, you also have IPEC, who is sort of shadowing Neil Pimlott. Neil Pimlott shadowing Roberts. Roberts trying to stay in front of Pimlott, doing a pretty decent job of that. Looked to be a
Oh,
move made. Ulrich's pulled out there into the hairpin. Nothing doing. Has to get back in line to keep from getting past.
Redford almost went into the rear end of Ulrich. Redford's just trying to touch as many cars as he can in this race by the looks of it, but he's still in ninth, third in silver. So, yeah, Yilmaz did a pit stop just then. So it's a bit weird with, probably like 15 minutes or so to go until the rain hits, or 20 minutes. I'm not sure how long it is now, but yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Maybe thinking that the other people are going to do a double stop, whereas, Seville, Flamga, Curtin, and Huel. I think this is going to sound right. So as we see here, him not trying to get past Phil Roberts, too wide into the 130 yard. Now that leaves IPEC to try and come in as well. Roberts gets back on track. Luckily in front, Redford goes for a dive and gets past Ulrich there for second place in silver. He's going to go for another one. Doesn't get the traction out of that corner, but it's hotting up in this little like midfield battle, if you like, Jesse. It's a pretty big gap as well back to the people who have pitters.
Well, just continuing to read chat, and Christina is regaling me with his adventures in Normandy. Sounds crazy, and hope you're doing well with that. Of course, no matter in what form you're here, we're happy to have you with us. Kevin Boss has maybe led on to his plans about season 14. Says, who knows? Maybe there'll be a wheelie slow racing team Lamborghini in the next Night Owl season. He calls that team wheelie slow, but I don't think Kevin Boss is wheelie slow anymore. I think he's picked up the pace.
Yeah, and I heard there's another driver to do with that really slow team that wasn't slow as well. I think it was you, Jesse, in the 4-hour race. You were flying.
We were flying 2 seconds off the pace, but I think that had more to do with the car than anything else. Huge move, Levin IPEC making the move on Neil Pimlott. Will he get it to stick this time? You bet he will. Will that leave the door open for Mike Redford, who's rejoined this fight, covered off by the BMW, can't find a way through. Mike Redford's going to be frustrated there, unable to capitalize, but heck of a move there from IPEC, able to get it stick. That didn't come off 1 lap ago. Learned what didn't work that time, comes back a lap later and gets it done. Levin back in 6th place.
Yeah, trying to make up those places back up the field. Still on those wet tyres, I believe, if I'm right, Jesse. So, it's crazy how long these tyres are lasting. I don't think they used to last this long back in the day on like the 1.8 and the 1.7 patches, but it's just nice to know that you can run longer on a wet tire on a dry track. As you see, the track is now fast. Maybe you'll get to optimum before the rain. I'm not too sure though. It does take a little bit longer now for the track to evolve through its stages.
The worst part about this, Ted, it's going to be undone in 10 minutes there.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, everyone wants optimum track, so you get the most grip. As we see Pimlott go for the inside of the iPad, Pimlott takes himself out. Oh dear! Don't hit the barrier. I think he did. Maybe a little bit of damage, but yeah, that was a big old send, that corner, but doesn't stick it. More like sticks himself into the grass. Lost a lot of position there. Back down to 9th. That's what 2 places he's lost, trying to gain that 1 place.
Racing continues. We expect rain. Well, we know we're going to have rain in the next 10 minutes. It's going to start out as light. It's going to get considerably worse than that. And that will impact the final third of this race tonight, the 90-minute finale. If this was an hour race, we wouldn't really pay too much mind. It would be somewhat important. We'd have light rain at the end and it'd still be a mix of strategy. But because it is scheduled to get a lot heavier before the end of the race, that is going to well impact the final verdict of this round. But give a hand to Seville in the 97. It was a bumpy sort of start to the race, quite literally in one case, but out front, doing his own thing. The strategy, whatever it is, it's probably changed a couple of times because of the weather forecast, but they've not put a foot wrong after the early issues in the Degners. They've created a gap, and they have that gap on Flamger. Olivier Kierton, 10 seconds adrift of Flamger, of course. Everything easy sailing out in front of the field. Close call here. 11 IPEC making the move on Phil Roberts. They both go off of the racetrack. A flash there by the Thunderbird 2 car. A little bit frustrated and upset. Mike Redford has made his way around Alexander Ulrichs and now looks to get P6 from Phil Roberts, adjusting something on the wheel. One of the cool things about ACC, when a driver adjusts something on the traction control, the brake bias, or one of the electrical components of the race car, you get to see it on the heads-up display. You see them turn the knob on the steering wheel, and this is very close racing. Mike Redford, of course, tried to make this move a little bit ago. Remember what happened in Spoon. Gonna have to do it cleanly here.
Yeah, and he's also seen Neil Pimlott trying to make the move into T1 on the inside of no, that was IPEC, sorry, but he was still seeing it from his position here, the IPEC and the Audi up in front. But it's one of those things. You think overtaking's easy, but it's if the other driver gives you space, as we see. I don't go too well. I thought Phil was giving him the space in that position, but not too sure if he was or just got a bad exit. But trying to make an overtake is pretty difficult, especially at a track like this where you've got tight corners where you want to go for a dive, but that can result in you either hitting the other car in front or taking yourself out. So you just gotta remember these little things in your mind when you're driving and when you want to go for an overtake, is where the best place is. Where are they making mistakes? Are they making mistakes out of Degners? Can I get them on the exit? Should I go slower into it and then do the faster out of it, rather than trying to send it through there and using all the track and curb as possible? It's one of those things that when you're racing is what goes through your mind.
Certainly is. Kevin Boss pointing out in chat, not only hot racing on the midfield battle, but hot in the broadcast room. Yeah, it really is. Our broadcaster sharing with us that it's a abnormally hot evening, and I'm pretty sure his PC that he's broadcasting the images to you from is just south of the temperature that creates molten steel. So you can hit up the Stewie Steel Factory tomorrow, if nothing else. Hopefully not in that case. Ulrichs, though, continuing the battle, trying to do what Mike Redford and the other couple of top 5 drivers have been able to do and get around Phil Roberts, who is nursing that car, nursing those tires to an eventual pit stop. You never know. This could come back to Phil Roberts when it starts raining, when they get the tire change. But right now, having to be very cautious and not put themselves in too much danger. Alexander Ulrichs now looking to make the move. Ulrichs gave up a couple of spots to Mike Redford IPEC, trying to get one of them back here.
Yeah, just thinking where this corner here is where Phil will let Redford through. Is that what I'm saying is Redford's in a different class. There's no points difference letting a driver through or trying to overtake a driver. Like Ulrichs trying to go for the move on Roberts is just an overall position. There's no extra points in it. But obviously he's fighting Pimlott behind and trying to catch Redford in front. So maybe Phil's in the mindset of, I'll just let these guys go. They're trying to get past me. They're fighting for a position of their own. Why is there a Porsche going slowly there? Not sure. Oh, that's a back mark, I think. That might be Wilson. Could be wrong, but I might be right. But maybe Phil's just thinking, if I stay out of their danger, stay out of their way, then I can try and keep where I am, which is 6th place in Pro. And when the rain comes, I might be able to make it back.
Certainly could be the case here, as again you see Phil Roberts holding on to a position. Ulrichs appears to have a little bit more in the tank, so to speak, a little bit more grip, I would probably argue. Again, a wide move there from Ulrichs, not really close enough to pass. That won't trouble Phil too much. He won't care so much about that. He knows what Ulrichs is trying to do. He's trying to fill the mirrors. He's trying to change the eye line, trying to distract. Doesn't happen through 130R that time. Roberts able to get through there, doesn't lose any time. I would probably argue both these cars struggling just a little bit. It's going to come down to who's struggling a little bit more. Ulrichs would desperately like to get past Roberts, go and potentially make the fight for Redford, because for all you know, at this point in the race, that could be the race for the win. Redford could be in the lead. Of course, he is in the lead. But I mean, at the end, because he will probably take one less stop than your pole sitter Paolo Martino did. Martino will certainly have to come in again. You would argue Redford only has to do one stop in this race, their mandatory stop, and they will also incorporate a tire change, which is not required, but will be required because of the weather. Man, being a race engineer is tough.
Sure is, and just looking at lap times, and almost everyone is going faster this lap. There's a load of green last laps, and just looking at Seville's, because Seville's got a 33-second gap to Flanagan now. Obviously, Daly was in the fight there, but it's fired from the race. And Seville was 2-minute 01.4, just did a 2-minute 01.6. Flanagan's fastest is a 2-minute 2.6. So whole second difference, Jesse. And that's why he's got such a big lead.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when it comes to you, that's the thing about race strategy is you can do what you think's best and you can come off the worst, but it's just about keeping yourself in the race no matter what. And you can't really dictate or worry about what everyone else is going to do. You just got to run your own race and drive within yourself, and whatever happens is going to happen. Rain in about 5 to 7 minutes from now. Not a forecaster, but it is starting to look a bit
it's
gloomy.
raining now, isn't it?
It's
my eyes. Sorry, I'm getting to that age, Jesse, where I need glasses again.
You're getting Vietnam flashbacks, that is what you're getting. But I will say, it is going to rain in the next 5 or so minutes. I can guarantee you that. The weather forecast isn't usually wrong. We have seen some wacky stuff at Night Out before. Season 9 threw me for a loop. We're at the Nürburgring, and it said it was going to rain, and then it erased itself. 15 minutes later, it's going to rain again, and it erased itself, and then all of a sudden, without warning, rain reappeared in 10 minutes. Some of the wildest stuff I had ever seen in ACC. And by the way, Ted didn't necessarily set this scenario up. He told ACC what the parameters were, but ACC still actually makes up the weather. It's not like a Project Cars or a Automobilista 2 where you can define exactly what the weather does. It's not that finite. It is still, in the truest sense of the word, random.
It's a pain, is what it is sometimes, Jesse. No, I set it up for the 4 hour. This is the same settings, bear in mind, different track, same settings I used for the 4 hour, and it didn't rain in the 4 hour.
It is crazy. Jonathan Seville, not crazy here for the Pulse Sim Sport car. They're coming into the pit lane. I dare say they're going to put Pirelli wet weather tires on that car. We'll watch the sidewalls. They're going to put Pirelli wet weather tires on that car and assume it's going to start raining in the next 3 minutes. It's going to wash away the rubber on the racetrack. It's going to get wetter as it goes on. The condition's going to improve. If you are Jonathan Seville, they're hoping they have timed this appropriately. And man, it is going to be a deluge. In 30 minutes, some 12 minutes from the checkered flag of this race in the season, it is going to start raining really hard. Might start having to genuinely battle the track rather than each other here at the end.
As you were saying, Seville is on the wet tire, but the thing is, is the rain here now, Jesse? Is the rain here?
Yeah, the rain is coming down. You can see it on the windscreen of Seville's car. That was perfectly timed. Now, my question for a Pulse Sim Sport driver is, I know that they work in groups and they work really well together, and they've done 1, 2, 3s in various RCI series. Does Seville have a strategist or an engineer from the team with him that is helping him with his strategy, or is he doing that al fresco, meaning is he doing that by himself, ad-libbed? But my goodness, there is no grip in those tires.
God,
look at him skating around. This is not the ice skating national championships of Japan, but you wouldn't know it by looking at that car. That is an unhappy Pulse Sim Sport Ferrari.
But if you just take a look at the top right, it was a fast track. It immediately went to green, and now it's gone straight to greasy. So that rain just changes how your dry tires work. Let alone, Seville's on his wet tires is going to handle a lot better than these dry tires of Redford and that. So Redford's now got to try and be careful with his braking. I think Bill just lets Redford through. I'm not too sure what's happened there. This has just went deep by cold tires.
Oh, this is
This is
very
now a
scary, very
race.
sketchy moments here. This is not what you want to see for Jonathan Seville because
No.
they're trying to manage the race, and now they're letting a car go, so to speak, or the car's coming through. Mike Redford, uninterested in the strategy of Jonathan Seville, struggling a little bit with the race car, trying to get the tires back up to temp on a drier racetrack. It's still technically a dry track. It's greasy and it's very slimy, and I think we knew that whenever he, meaning Jonathan Seville, tried to take the Dunlop curve. But you can see the grip difference in tires that have heat in them as Mike Redford, even on older tires, just drove away.
Yeah, it's not you know, whereas before it never used to be about heat, as you see Redford going in for the wets now. It wasn't all about the heat back in the day. It was what tire you was on would be the grippiest, and the PSI was a big thing, which back then you didn't have a big PSI window, whereas now we have a whole PSI from 26 to 27. For the wets is I think from like 29.5 to 30 psi. I think is still the parameters for those, like the optimum pressure. But yeah, as we see here, the heat in the dry is held on better than the new wets. So just you know, it's just how long you can last on the dry tires for, and how they feel.
If I had a criticism for Jonathan Seville and the strategy, I would argue they might have come in a lap or two too early. They might have been chasing how quickly the race was going to change. But look at this. It's a huge slide through Dunlop corner for Phil Roberts, losing the handling of the race car. That's going to allow Ulrichs beside him, and he's going to get through even before they get to the Degners. And it's a position up for Alexander Ulrichs in the 587 as Thunderbird 2 clearly ailing and trying just to make it to the pit window, which I think, with the track going damp, might be this lap.
Yeah, I wouldn't see why you wouldn't pit this lap. I think if it was me, I would have once it goes greasy, I would have gave it one more lap, and then dove into pits. But it also depends on how much fuel you've put in. Obviously, this is an hour and a half race. I don't think all the cars can last an hour and a half. I know the Ferraris are very good on their fuel, but I'm not too sure. I know the Bentley also has a bigger fuel tank, I think, at this track still. But it's you know, it depends how much fuel you put in. If you've only put 45 minutes in, for you know, for your first stint and your second stint, because obviously there was only the one mandatory pit stop, then you know it's just going to change how your strategy works. But if you had to pit early, then yeah, it's just one of those. Again, strategy. This is what the drivers had to think about while driving, and if you don't have someone there to help you, it's very difficult.
We'll see. Does he come in? He does not come in. Thunderbird 2 on a wet racetrack doesn't come in. A car sliding around. Thunderbird 2 still out there. You did see Ulrichs come in. You have Olivier Kierton, Raphael Kuhl, and Ulrichs in the pit lane this time. That re-promotes Jonathan Seville back to P1. Phil Roberts up to P2. And now, what is the strategy of Thunderbird 2?
Well, we all know a Bentley is a boat, so he should be okay for a bit. You know, they float really nicely.
Is there any way? Well, no, he can't do that. He's got to come in for 1 liter of fuel. Is there a reality, Ted, where he comes in for his 1 liter of fuel, he's down and gone, and he has shaved 30 seconds off his pit timer? Is there any reality where he doesn't change tires? Well, I'm asking.
No, like you need to change tires to get up to wets. By just looking at the weather radar and the snap there on Degner, like that's a car waiting to find a barrier. But he's done very well to keep hold of. Oh, Raphael Hall has a 30-second stop and go. That is not from Stewards. We don't have any tonight, so that is from in-game, from speeding in the pit lane, Jesse. That's going to ruin his race.
Raphael Huell has done such a good job today, clawing and fighting back inside the top 5, despite his little T-Rex arms, and now, unfortunately, unable to get down to pit road speed, or they have shifted into gear number 2 while exiting. Easy to do that. and has sped in pit lane. A stop and go 30 is major speeding in the pit lane, more than a kilometer or so. And again, ACC assigned penalty, no live stewards, like Ted said, and that has completely undone Raphael Huell's race. And again, unlike a normal time penalty that you can tack on, as Phil Roberts goes incredibly wide in 130R, unlike a normal time penalty, stop and go has the same principles as a drive-through. You have to come in within 3 laps to serve that penalty.
Yeah, and you see at the top right now, the track is wet, so Phil did well to hold on to the car. I don't know if it paid off, staying that one more lap. I think he should have pitted, Jesse. I don't see the benefits of sliding around, not having that traction, and just struggling for one more lap. But just have to see where he pops out after this. I think he was sitting in 6th place or 7th place in Pro, so just have to wait and see. But Redford is now in, I think that's P1 for Redford. It is Orlix in 2nd, Pimlott in 3rd, so Redford did very well to get up to 1st in silver class.
Well, if you took the pole position in your class tonight, it has been a nightmare of a race. Gordon Daly leading the race. There was contact early on, and he ultimately decided after 20-some seconds of additional damage to retire. The pole sitting Just Gamers 197. And if you're Paolo Martino, you came in with a strategy that you thought was sound, and certainly was for the first 20 or 30 minutes of this race. The weather turned against him. He's had to make, or will have to make, in all likelihood, a second pit stop if he hasn't already, and that has dropped him well down the order. Redford leads in the silver class over Ulrich, like you said. Oh my goodness, how quickly it all comes undone. 33 minutes left in the race. The rain is going to continue to get harsher here as we approach the checkered flag tonight.
Yeah, just going back to Phil Roberts there, coming out behind Pimlott and Orlix. He was in front of Orlix before them two pitted. So just looking at the pit stop times, Orlix was a 1 minute 09.3, Pimlott's was 1 minute 12.8, and Phil's was 1 minute 12.5. So Phil pit stop wasn't that bad. I think it was him staying out on those dry tyres in the wet for too long, Jesse. Like, he just lost too much time.
Yeah, it would appear like that was a potential possibility. There might have been a strategy reason behind that too. Quite curious what that might have been, but here it is. Breck Yilmaz in the Squadra Corsa livery 23 Lamborghini. They're in P2, but not for too long. They're going to come down pit lane. I would assume change tires on that race car. That will allow Timothy Flamger to come through. In fact, I just heard a Porsche fly by, probably Flamger. That will promote him into P2. Olivier Kierton will almost certainly come through. It's going to be close to the IPEC. Oh no, the leaders crash. Jonathan Seville by themselves coming through the Dunlop S's. What has happened here? Too much curb on the exit, and it's a big one into the tire barrier.
Almost collecting, I think that was Martino in the Mercedes there, the 108. That is a big
I'm actually
crash,
unsure if there's a tire barrier there, but the sentiment's the same. They went hard into the wall.
Yeah, but he's still 30 seconds ahead, Jesse, so that little crash doesn't really matter.
No, it does matter because that has... Exactly.
I was getting onto that, Jesse.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm excited.
Oh my god, it's night owl. But yeah, it's what the damage does to the front end, and now, you know, seeing him slide through there on the exit of that corner, the rear end just slips out for some reason. Is the front end damage going to now affect the rear end more? I just have to wait and see. But Yilmaz, with the fastest lap, just coming out the pit lane, was on dry tyres. He's been on dry tyres longer than Phil was, and now has come out of the pit lane into the first corner. Phil Roberts, yellow flagged T1. Why? Losing the rear end.
Just lost it. Just lost it mid-corner. Of course, turn 1 and 2 here, technically, two different corners, but realistically not so. And you can do that if you destabilize the car setting up for the second part of that double apex. You can do that, especially the trickier conditions. It's more likely, and a car that just came out of the pit lane will not likely have its tires up to temp as well. But here's Jonathan Seville leading the race still, but a huge moment. Front end damage on the front of his Pulse Sim Sport Ferrari, and we'll see how he gets through this time. Certainly was on the curbs a little bit too much for the weather conditions. He didn't go too hard into the wall. It was a significant impact, but it wasn't a retirement level event, I don't believe. But the question remains, how much time will it lose them to Timothy Flamger? Under 30 seconds now. Flamger to Seville. We'll keep an eye on it.
Sure will. And Phil Roberts in 5th place in Pro Field, followed by Yilmaz. So I wonder if Phil can hold off Yilmaz. 2.6 seconds was the difference. You see Phil up in front. We've got Billy Octane on the rear end of Yilmaz. Can Billy in this Porsche put pressure on them? The Grim Lilith, 7.5 seconds, was 10 seconds after the pit stop. So the first set of pit stops that was. So closing that gap down. Obviously Lilith and Octane both starting on the wet tyres, so they've lost quite a bit of ground. If they started on the dries, I think they would have been further up the field and in front of the Silvers. But you know, that's what happens when you have different strategies in a race like this. We're just gonna have to see what they do. With 29 minutes left on the time of the race, and pit window open, time doesn't really matter anymore, Jesse. Everyone has done their pit stops.
Certainly has. Some drivers and teams have taken 2 pit stops, as is because of their original starting strategy. And of course, nobody could have foreseen the rain coming in right around the 1 hour mark. If it was, as I said before, a normal 1 hour race as we have throughout the season, it would have been a problem. But because every Night Owl season finale is a 90-minute finale, that has come into play here tonight. So starting strategy has dictated the race thus far. It doesn't mean that it's the end-all be-all. There could still be movement and changes in this race. I suspect we will still see some comers and goers. Seville out in front, talked about the crash, hasn't lost anything in the lap and a half that they, or post-crash anyway. In fact, they may have gained a bit on Flamger as a whole. Back over 30 seconds now. The gap first and second is actually flowing the other direction. It's down under 29, but rather by the by, it's not closing down, so no immediate danger for Pulse Sim Sports Seville. Flamger might not even know Seville had an incident driving on an island unto themselves. Kierton in 3rd place, 15 and nearly 16 seconds off of Flamger's time. No movement there, but still a lot of fighting going on in this mid-pack in this top 10. Valuable points here. Billy Octane for Triple R. Still, we ride on board his front splitter of that Porsche, looking at Yilmaz's Lamborghini. Either one of them really making mistakes. A little bit more drive into the corner out of Octane, I see, and that's the difference right now.
Yeah, sure is. It's just 2 different cars. Oh, see, Yilmaz's going a little bit deeper there, but yeah, it's just got 3 cars here. You got Roberts in the Bentley, you got Yilmaz in the new Lamborghini Evo, and you got Octane in the 992 Porsche. And it just shows that, you know, they are still quite competitive against each other. Not one car overpowers the other.
Oh, this is
Yilmaz
wide.
go really wide onto the green. These are too wide. Will Octane get in front on the exit? I think so. They will nudge. Oh, Yilmaz holds it though, going off onto the grass. That is not an Octane pass.
Oh
Grim
my
Lilith doing a
goodness.
bit of a drift. But yeah, I think Yilmaz just didn't realise how much room Octane still had. It didn't have, sorry, on the inside of that corner, but they are the ones that came off worse, and now Octane is in P9 overall and 6th in crew class.
And it's really close in some of these spots. Octane able to get that position just barely. A little bit of contact. Yilmaz will not probably appreciate that as much, and as Octane did, a little close racing nonetheless, as Yilmaz will try and clean to the back of Octane. I don't know if that's possible. Octane's only 3.5 seconds behind Phil Roberts for 8th place. Or if they're in a chat together, 2 known drivers, known to each other anyway. Bill Pimlott just 1.3 off of Alexander Ulrich's for P6. We right on board with Mike Redford, just showing you a little bit of the conditions. Heavier rain falling here now. That should be apparent on the screen. I probably didn't have to tell you that. My favorite thing with weather forecasters and meteorologists here in the States, Ted, is that they will tell you the weather that you can clearly see on their television cams that they have showing you pictures of like different scenes and skylines. They
Yep.
then tell you what the weather's like. And I'm like, yeah, I already knew that. I can see it.
I have
But
eyes.
yeah, I understand why they do that. Obviously, if you're
Yep.
vision impaired and, what have you. But beyond that, I just always found it funny. Be like, well, here's your weather forecast. It's like, well, you just showed me it's raining. But by the by, it is raining here in Suzuka and expect it to be quite heavy throughout the finish of the race. In fact, it's still going to get worse yet in the next 10 minutes.
24 and a half minutes of the race to go. God, I forget how long a 90-minute race is, Jesse. You know, when you've been doing hour-long races every Saturday for the past 5 weeks, and you get to round 6, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be a nice normal night, and then you think,
Do you know
9
who
minutes.
else is thinking that? Do you know who else is thinking that?
I think our broadcaster camera guy Stewie, right?
Well. I mean, he's entering the steel foundry industry right now. But I was talking about the 18 drivers we have in this race left. They're thinking
True.
about that too. They're like, well, okay, normally I'm over and done here at this point on a Saturday night, but now I've still got 20 some minutes. That weighs on you as a driver, as a human being. It weighs on you because if you're normally used to a 60-minute race, a lot of LFM and other series, they're an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. You get used to that. You get conditioned as a driver. And when it's longer than that, it feels like an absolute eternity. Here's the replay of the incident between Yilmaz and Billy Octane. Just a little bit of a push there. You could probably argue Yilmaz left the racing circuit and then rejoined beside him. You could also probably argue Billy Octane wasn't really having it there as well. I think 50-50 in my opinion, though Barack will probably disagree with that sentiment.
Just looking at Yilmaz's fastest lap compared to Seville's. Seville's was a 2 minute 01.417, whereas Yilmaz's was a 2 minute 1.187. So almost 3/10 faster. I think that was in the dry. Obviously, in the wet, you're 10 seconds slower than your dry time. But this guy's just showing they have pace, and signed up for the last round. Imagine if they were in the start of this season. That would have been a battle with Seville. That would have been nice to see in the points.
Yeah, of course, it's always open to join whenever you can and able to catch a little bit of racing. I will say, as a fan of doing pickup races and racing whenever I can, as opposed to my work schedule, I do enjoy being able to run races. You alluded to the Wheelie Slow Racing team. I was able to do a Saturday race for, or was it a Saturday race? Whatever it was, for the first time. My days run together. I do apologize. For the first time in a long time, it was a Saturday race. I got to do a race on a Saturday afternoon with people I enjoy broadcasting with and interacting with on a weekly basis. I got to race, and that's kind of the whole point of it. That's the way we do things. That's why we do it, and gives drivers like Barack Yilmaz an opportunity to drive. Speaking of which, fastest lap of the race to Yilmaz, isn't it, in the 23 Lamborghini? I dare say nobody's going to take it from him.
You think not, Jesse?
I have an inkling.
Yeah.
Professional broadcaster, by the way.
But yeah, we had our one-off race a couple of weeks ago, I think, on a Saturday. Only a 4-hour multi-class. But I hear there is something in the works for another one-off coming up soon. Keep an eye out on our website and on our Discord for that information. I think a lot of you might like it.
Yeah, I can't say anything about it. I'm obviously privy to that. I was actually talking to Tom Bryant, one of our admins, about that today in some of the setup preparation for that race. So can't reveal too much now if it hasn't been officially announced, but I'm actually quite happy with the way that it's going to shake out. I can't wait to see it. Oh my goodness, a skaty moment for third place. Olivia Kierton in the Kraken Engineering 111. Every time a car comes through there, it looks scary. Wegner is absolutely under control, though, at this stage in the race. Still holding at 15 and a half seconds behind Flamger. Flamger has chipped a second out of Seville's lead. It is obviously not enough of headway to even consider chasing down Seville at this point, but Kieran not making up time as well. These drivers just chasing the final 20 minutes of the race, and the longest 20 minutes. Mentioned earlier, if you're conditioned to run 60 minutes and you're running a 90-minute race, you become very aware of that final 30 minutes. If you're in a position, especially a podium position at the end of any race, regardless of how long it is, the minutes at the end of the race, and though we know they're all 60 seconds, every minute 60 seconds, they just feel like an eternity, because you know you're on the precipice of greatness, and all you got to do is get to the checker flag. You have conditions like today, you're counting every grain of sand.
And 19 minutes left doesn't seem very long, especially for us three that are sat, watching these guys race. But when you're driving the car, it's an eternity. It's just, yeah, it's the amount of times that I've just looked up at the time or asked them how long they're left, and they've turned around and gone, "Oh, it's about 20 minutes left." I'm like, well, that's not fun. I sort of want to be finished by now. But that's the thing of these longer races, mini enduro, if you like, is it's just a waiting game and trying to keep that car on the track.
Yeah, it is one of those things too. And in real life racing, they talk about, well, if you're winning a race, you start to hear things in the car, squeaks or pops or noises that don't sound right, and you start to worry, oh my goodness, is the car going to conk out? Is there going to be a problem with the car? Why are my brakes making that noise? I've got a chatter in the front part of the car. Is that some kind of failure coming on? I hear a whistle that wasn't there. All these different things. You don't have that in sim racing so much, but I will say from the driver's perspective, you do start to feel things. If you're having a good race, I've had this happen to me before, where you're having a really good race, you're blowing away your own expectations, then all of a sudden you going down into a corner, you're like, why didn't the brakes feel as good? Or why didn't I get a good turn in there? Am I overdriving the car? Am I underdriving the car? Is there something wrong? Did I go over the limit of the tires? Are the tires fading? Am I going to get caught? And all that does is exacerbate that. The difference between a really good driver and an average driver is, and especially a pro driver, is you tune that out, you stay consistent, and you can pound around like a robot, like an AI, for lap after lap. And Pulse SimSport, they joined in a major way RCI's community. We love having them. They've showed up with an armada of cars in the past, and they have shown what pro drivers are capable of. This is another fantastic drive by them. Seville looking like a champion-elect here tonight.
Sure, it doesn't. Yeah, you want about tuning some of the stuff out when you're driving is, I've noticed that in some tracks I have to change the brake bias sometimes, either forwards or backwards, just to try and make the brakes work again, because I go into a corner and it's like, oh, brakes aren't working now. I've just it's just overshooting the corner, or when I'm going to a tight corner and you get on the brakes and you stay on them for a bit longer than you need to be, and the front drags the rear around, you're like, well, that's not meant to happen. So you just try and fine tune things out. Maybe, coming out of corners, you got a little bit, slidey, so you have to either increase the TC. If you've got 2 TCs, then that's a lot helpful as well, because you can fine tune those settings. And yeah, it's just one of those things that you pick up when you drive. Is, oh well, the car's being weird now, especially when you're on lower fuel near the end of the races. The car's weird now. Let's just press some buttons and see if it fixes it. And sometimes it works, but it's just one of those things. You see here, Raphael.
Sorry, good.
Go on. No, I see Piscina in the chat as well.
Piscina in the chat asking, do I do real life comms? Unfortunately, no. I am an esports guy. I do enjoy it. I've always said, enjoy telling, and this is the reason anybody does comms. I really feel you love telling stories about motorsport. You love being a part of motorsport stories. I don't care if it's grassroots racing, if it's Little League racing, or esports world championships. I've done them both, and I will say I like them all equally, because you get stories out of every single race. This story here, Raphael Huell back trying to make up
Ooh.
spots. Was that a little bit of a touch for Grim Lilith? Lilith not taking that. Lilith blocking him off and backing off a little bit. Was Huell realizing there was a touch, realizing that Lilith was not going to let him through, and they end up single file again through the S's. But no, esports commentator, I love it. I love doing league as well. The gravity of it is a bit different, admittedly. But beyond that, the stories are the same. You get a good story, and that's why I love motorsports.
Jesse just has that voice. I think everyone can agree with me there. Jesse just has that voice that you can just listen to for hours on end. But yeah, and also I just see Epicena say, I swear this night owl commentaries get better than real life racing commentaries, and I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely love that. Yeah, it's. There's a difference too. Ted and I, we're would we be? Are we co-workers? I don't know exactly how it works here.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean we work in tandem towards a common goal, right? I would say that qualifies for co-workers. But on top of that, I adore Ted as a human being, and it's just so natural to sit here and talk to Ted and to talk to all of you at home and see familiar names in chat and do all that. And it's just it's so different than real life. It's harder to do it in real life too, because you are stuck to watching one monitor, and it's a whole thing. And there's sort of a weight put on you of you need to be exactly correct. And with us, it's just two mates having a conversation, isn't it?
That's all commentary's all about, really. You can go really in depth, and you can talk about the race and what people are doing and stuff, and we do that, but then we also like to have a little chill, we like to relax, and it's night owl. We just like to let our hair down a little bit. This is where RCI just chills out. We have our 6-hour series that we've just done, and that was super focused on mentioning teams and getting all the information to you guys, and here we're just watching Raphael Huell on the rear end of Grim Lilith facing each other down.
Well, they made contact once already, and I don't know if that contact was invited by Grim sliding out a little bit, or maybe Huell got a better center off of the first part of turn number 1. Either way, contact was made. Huell obviously backed off a little bit. Grim, not really faced by it so much, got back on the racing line, and they have continued to battle. As they continue to battle here, we've got some other excellent partners of ours as well. And I would like to say, if you are in need of sim racing hardware, there's a one-stop shop for you. Ted, you have more.
Yeah, Digital Motorsports are a one-stop shop for everything sim racing, whether you're in need of a new sim rig or a whole new rig. From beginner to expert, Digital Motorsport has something for everyone. They also have a little sim rig builder. I've spent too much time on that, Jesse. It's a whole load of fun. You can visit the link in our description, find out more. Yeah, sim rig builder. Whoever came out of that?
Yeah,
that was very smart.
They're very enterprising, aren't they, at digitalmotorsport.com, because they do have that. Look at this, Raphael Huell able to get it done. Now, was that Grim Lilith yielding? That is a very strange place to make an overtake, especially that easy. Was that Grim exiting Spoon going, you know what, I don't want Huell behind me anymore, I'm going to let him go? I don't know, but that was a very odd place, halfway down the back straight, and sort of a huge gap because of it. But rather by the by, Raphael Huell from AO Racing up into 11th place. Why? What a race, what a season. And I start to reflect on what's happened this season. It has been hotly contested. The weather today playing a huge factor in that as well. The championship realistically came down to the last round. Jonathan Seville looking like your champion in the pro class. And as I check the silver class, oh man, it's very close to tell. I still think Matthew Malcolm's going to win the championship, but I'm not 100% on that, so don't take that to the bank just yet.
Yeah, we will get the standings to you as as soon as the race finishes, as soon as we can, just so you can see where everyone finished. But still a few battles still going on. There's still some points to be dished out to different drivers and different splits. So see Billy Octane here trying to get that position off of Phil Roberts, that 5th place position in the pro. But Billy Octane doesn't have any points at the minute, so if he can get a 5th place out of this, that's some nice points for him. I don't think it will move him anywhere from where he's. I think he's 11th in the standings, but just to get a 5th place from the last race in an hour and a half in this Porsche, after being on the wet tyres at the start, probably the wrong set of tyres, is it's going to be a big one for him. Phil Roberts though is 6th in the standings and only 46 points away from Daly. He might be able to get enough points to overtake Daly. Obviously, Gordon Daly retired from the race earlier on, so Phil could get some points back if he holds this position.
He certainly can. I'm going to be curious post-race to hear what Phil Roberts' thoughts are. It's been a Jekyll and Hyde race for Thunderbird 2. Been like that all season. Fantastic finishes. Today, no matter what happens here, it's not going to be a bad finish for Phil Roberts in the only Bentley in the series. Certainly that car's had its fan following this season as well. People cheering on Phil, cheering on the big Bentley, and doing well. Top 10s in a lot of the races this season. But I'm curious what he thinks about today's venture in general. They came up through the field. They had a pretty decent strategy, I would argue, versus some of the other field. They've had some excellent battles, some nice defensive plays as well. But never can tell how a driver is actually going to feel. If it were me that had this day, I'd be absolutely elated that I was able to hang on to it. Phil Roberts, though, he might be a bit frustrated with the car. You never can tell. We haven't seen Timothy Flamger on track much. Well, it's because he's mostly by himself, but the Alpha Sim Sport driver is not giving up. He's crossing the line here, and he is still 30 seconds off of the lead. Matching Seville's times, most laps, is the Alpha Sim Sport number 19 Porsche, but making no headway.
Still some battles going on. Billy Octane with Phil Roberts and Raphael Duel, sort of. Paulo Martinez is coming to 2-second gap between Danny Moffat in the number 11 Ferrari, but there's not very many. Oh, Jonathan Seville with a drive-through. Hello, Flamger for 1st place. What is happening here, Jesse? 7 minutes 50 seconds left off the race. That is a track cut penalty, and that's going to hurt him.
Jonathan Seville has run afoul of the track limits one too many times. You get 3 track cut warnings, and on the 4th time asking, you get an ACC assigned drive-through penalty. It's been a day of perseverance for Pulse Sim Sports driver in the 97. They've had a decent start. They've had the right strategy. They've had a spin in Dunlop, damage to the car. They've managed the gap. But folks, it's going to come undone. And I believe there's more than 3 laps left in this race, so he will not be able to take a time penalty here. He is going to have to come in and serve that. There's 7 minutes. He's about to take the start-finish line. That is more than 3 laps. He will have done that calculation, and here he is. Seville in the pit lane, drive-through.
Yeah, if there was less than 3 laps after the race, he could have got...
oh, it's a big slide from Phil!
Oh, no. Oh, I think they're in each other's ears there. I think they are talking to each other in somewhere, but that was very close for Billy there. But luckily, he keeps it out of Phil's car. But yeah, Seville is. If he only had 2 laps left, I think he would have run it out and just took a 30-second penalty and try and stay in front of Flamger. But
Seville's coming out of the pit lane. Timothy Flamger's thundering down the front straight. Here's Flamger. Will we see Seville? We do. Up in front already in turn number 1. The pit stop, or excuse me, the drive-through penalty. You don't have to stop, of course, so it's 28 to 30 seconds down the pit lane, executed fantastically by Seville, and he has not lost the lead. That's how commanding Seville's lead has been thus far in the second half of this race. A spin, no problem. Damage to the nose of the Ferrari, no problem. Drive-through penalty, still not enough. Incredible. Oh, and
Such a
it's a big slide from Timothy Flamger
Oh
as it's come undone for
no.
him. He was just a few seconds behind Seville, and the Dunlop curve has taken another victim today inside the top 5.
I was about to say, Jesse, I think I pre-cursed him before I even opened my mouth, like with my thoughts. I was about to say he's only 2 seconds or 2 to 3 seconds away from Seville. It's 5 seconds now or so. So I think I just commentators cursed him straight away, poor guy. But it depends on what his lap times can be. Obviously we don't know at this moment in time because Seville went through the pit lane, but I don't think he can catch him in 5 minutes and overtake him or try and battle. I think that's definitely out the window now with that off into the grass. But yeah, that's just bad luck.
Well, Flamger saved it from being worse than it could have been. It could have been a full rotation. It could have been hard damage into the wall. It was none of those things. Able to somewhat catch the car, regain control of it into the grass. Harder than it looks as well. I think we could all
Hmm.
agree on, but able to get it back under control. But the damage done on the timing and scoring tower, 5-second gap. And for a driver that had made 0 inroads over the past 35, 45 minutes, I think even 5 seconds is going to be too tall of a task. Keep in mind, though, Seville has made a few mistakes in this race thus far. Who's to say he doesn't make another one here?
Yeah, sure thing. But I think Flamger just got lost concentration by seeing the Delta go low or seeing Seville go for a drive-through. You know, it can put you off. Seeing the car in front having the drive-through, it have the P for the pit lane being in the pit lane next to the driver number. So maybe they just got put off a little bit, and then they're like, oh, I need to push now, and just put the foot down a bit too much going out the corner, and it lost it. But it's just one of those things when you're driving in races like this where, oh, I can make up a position now. I just need to put some effort in, try and get most, try and go faster through corners than I already am, and that's where you're making mistakes.
Well, the weather hasn't cooperated today, but one thing's for sure, the server is absolutely rock solid. And who do we have to thank for that?
Oh, well.
Well, AK Esports is a leader in esports management and server hosting. They provide our servers to us, and absolutely fantastic. They provide all of our racing. In fact, we thank them for being a partner with RCI. We thank them for their help with setting everything up as well. But for more information on how they can help you with your esports series or venture, go to akesports.it.
Yeah, sorry for that, Jesse. I got distracted by something else. Please forgive me. Don't shout to me like you normally do.
All right, first of all, don't tell people that. They'll believe it.
Yeah, I know they will. No,
Somebody's gonna go to bed tonight and be like, man, he yells at
Jesse
10.
shouts.
I mean, I do yell at you, but not for that.
I got distracted, but yeah.
As an American, I yell a lot for not a lot of reasons.
It's night owl a lot, even when night owl's not
Night
on.
out, dude. I will all through the week. These people feel sorry for all the people here at RCI that have to work with me because somebody will say night owl and I will just reactionary. I'll yell night owl back, but night owl. I will do that. And a big thank you to our final partner. I know a lot of the drivers in the field tonight using Fanatec equipment, Ted.
Yeah, sure is. Fanatec is the global leader in high-end sim racing hardware from a load cell pedals, which feel really nice, by the way, with the direct drive bases, which also feel really nice, by the way. I am jealous I don't have one. You can help RCI by using the affiliate link when making purchases from Fanatec, and if you do so, then thank you very much. It helps with all our running costs over here at RCI.
Yeah, and we definitely know that some of you have used the affiliate link, and we are so very thankful for that. No matter what affiliate link that you use, we thank you for using them in the description of the video. And on top of that, just one more time before the season ends, a big thank you to all of our partners here at RCI TV that help make all of this possible. It truly takes a village, and they do it well. The 224 has been off. That's 11 IPEC or EPEC. no confirmation on that, but either way, Levin's been off. And is it Dunlop again? It is!
Jeez.
Another driver inside the top 5 of this race, spinning in the Dunlop curves.
I wonder what it is, Jesse, for a driver to spin like that.
Are we going to get another lap in here, Ted? We are.
Are we?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be close. I don't know if we will or we won't.
I just hit a nah from Stewie, so I trust Stewie.
Stewie disagrees. They're in the triangle with 10 seconds to go. How long? Oh, it's not the F1. It's not the F1 start finish, so we will not get another lap in. The sand running out, and ladies and gentlemen, it's not been pretty. It hasn't had to be. Jonathan Seville for Pole Sim Sport has won the final race of the season and indeed the championship.
Yeah, what a season for Seville there. You know, gaining I think quite a few first place there. As we see Yilmaz trying to get Phil Roberts. Still got half a lap to go. But yeah, you got Seville, Flamger, and Curtin first, second, and third. That's your top 3 in Pro IPEC still to come across the line. Also, Redford still got to go across the line. I'm not sure where Redford is. Oh, just coming up to the line just now, so they will take first in silver class for this race. Borlix is 10 seconds back, so they'll come across the line in a few seconds' time, as you see here in the nice Ferrari 296. Second place for them then. Pimlott in the background in the Rossi car, the BMW M4 taking third place after a few spins. Few contacts. Phil Roberts still holding off Yilmaz coming into the chicane at the end of the track, going down into the last corner now. Can that Lamborghini get around? No, they cannot. Phil Roberts will take 5th place in Pro class. Well done from them, and Yilmaz, very well done from them. Unfortunately, you know, finishing where they probably should finish higher up, but that's down to the tyre strategies of Raphael Hull coming across the line, followed by Grim Lilith in that Race Ventura liveried car.
Some interesting positions of these cars finishing today. A lot of them done in by the pit strategy, the 90 minutes, and the changeable conditions. Moffitt comes across. Martino, your pole sitter in silver, will have to settle for 4th place in that class. Malcolm in the 199 comes home in 5th place, 13th overall. The final couple of finishers, and it was a close one between Wilson and Donoso. Remember, Donoso was one of the early cars that got into trouble, but they'll bring the Harder Racing car home and finish the race. Incredible. I can tell you that Jonathan Seville has won the Pro Championship. I'm not entirely sure I can, in all sincerity, tell you who's won the silver, but we'll show you the final championship standings at the end of the broadcast here in just a moment. Another successful season, Ted. We've announced season 14 of Night Owl. Where can they go to sign up for season 14?
Well, if you head on over to our website, racerci.com, you can see all the championships are happening right now, and season 14 is up. And signups are not open until tomorrow, 12 p.m. BST. The time will show in your local time, so don't miss out on that one. You will have 2 weeks to do pre-queue, and it will be at Suzuka. So lovely and dry, by the way. But yeah, you can head over there and sign up for now.
Well, here are your final championship standings. We're going to go with Pro. I'm going to do the boring one here, Ted. You do the interesting one. Jonathan Seville wins the Pro Championship, 267 points over Timothy Flamger's 248. Levin Ipek comes in P3 at 241. A close thing, all told, between those drivers. Jordan Watson, not here today, stays at 202. Jordan Daly at 190 rounds out the top 5. Phil Roberts will miss out by 6 points out of a top 5 spot, but a valiant effort in the Bentley, the highest scoring Bentley in a very long time in a weekly championship here. Phil Roberts, 184. 169 for Danny Moffitt in 7th place. Olivier Kierton, 159 in 8th. Raphael Huell, 140 in 9th place. Grim Lilith stays inside the top 10, 131. Outside the top 10, Burak Yilmaz comes home with 43 points in the Lamborghini. A wet and wild day here at Suzuka Billy Octane comes home with 28 points in 12th place. Everybody else in pro have retired from the championship.
Here are your silver standings for the end of the championship. We have Matthew Malcolm with 259 points in first place. They held on to that first place very well. Paulo Martino in second with 253, only 6 points behind, but 6 points they did not get. Alexander Orlix in third place with 236, followed by Redford, Pimlott, and Kwiatkowski. 218 from Redford, 207 from Pimlott, and 175 from Kwiatkowski. Fourth, fifth, and sixth. They did very well there. Jano Manso, 162 in seventh place, followed by Chris Wilson with 121. Edgar Donoso with 118, and Sahil Mustak 113. That's eighth, ninth, and 10th. Here's your next lot of cars. Thomas Allen in the 11th with 111 points. The Aston Martin, followed by Gary Barham with 95 in 12th. 13th is Fred Ferreira with 88, and 14th is Ben Law with 46. Well, it's been interesting, Jesse, this season of Night Out with a 6 round instead of the normal five. And, Zolder, Watkins, Bathurst, Valencia, and Monza was all fun. Suzuka at the end there, 1.5 hours of wet and dry racing, wet qualifying. And, yeah, Jonathan Seville just walks away with first place. Not too far, though, only 19 points difference from Flamger. So it wasn't too much of an easy breezy walk, but yeah, IPEC taking third, it was very well done to them. But yeah, good racing all round this season.
How good was Jonathan Seville's season? Well, let me break it down. They had their drop round, which was a sign out. They signed out of Monza as well, which didn't count as a drop round. You only get one. So they had a goose egg in one of those races, but because their other finishes were second place and 3 wins, they still won this championship and did so in an impressive manner. I am very impressed with what Seville was able to accomplish. Came in tied, by the way, with their teammate Jordan Watson, who was unable to make tonight's race. Similar story for Watson as well. A couple of wins, a second place, and a couple of signouts that limited them pretty heavily. Well, we're going to do some driver interviews. Let's start with our silver champion, Matthew Malcolm. Ted, take it away.
Oh, Matthew, what a season from you! You got a first place in Bathurst, a second place in Zolder, and then you unfortunately didn't have a great round on Monza, but you took home the win for the silver class. How do you feel about that?
I mean it's great, really, but it's obviously it was just me, but just being at the right place at the right time for both for quality and the races. Unfortunately, for as you said, for Monza, wasn't really a good one. And for this one, I wasn't great either because obviously with the conditions, now I'm not starting to feel well because dehydration and heat does not go well.
Yeah, it's been pretty hot here, hasn't it? I've been topping up on water throughout this broadcast, and I've been sweating just sat here commentating on you guys. So I definitely know what it's like for you guys racing, sweating and losing concentration. It's not a great thing. An hour and a half of that is not fun, but you did very well. 259 points. You got 6 points ahead of Paulo Martinio there. So you did very, very well. What was the car like for you during this championship? Because obviously I haven't driven the Ferrari much, and wanted a little inside information on that.
Well, I mean, before with I was struggling to find a car that worked really well for me in the but Ferrari, it just clicked. Never really a car which really knew how to drive fast day one. It might just be because of the break of balance. Of course, it can all change when through these updates, but certainly right now for the Ferrari, it really works well for me. I hope to continue driving on with this.
Well, that's very nice to hear. A new car coming into the game. Sorting out the bop is a big thing for Kunos to make sure it's not too overpowered, and it's not. So, you just show how you can drive that car really well, and obviously with the 1.9 update, just shows that you've got to grips with it quite nicely, and like you say, you've just gelled with the car in nicely. It's like me with the Porsche. It's just one of the cars where you just jump in the car and you're like, oh, actually, I like this car and I do really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like for my first race at Spa, I was like, we did the first race at Spa when the update came out, and I was before the update, before the new cars for the NSX. It was lapping around fully around mid to high 18s as quality and a 19 pace. But with Ferrari, I was already a second faster just on it on its own. So great, and obviously I've been using more variable setups, using the Go setups recently, working.
Well, there you go. Ghost setups definitely helping some of the drivers out here. And Matthew Malcolm won with Ghost setups. I think you should head on over to the Ghost setups website and grab yourself some. But yeah, very very well done from today's race as well. Anything you'd like to say, Jesse?
Well, first of all, Matthew, I just want to congratulate you on a fantastic championship. It was a pleasure to watch you drive this season. Only one race did you finish outside the top five in the silver class. Better than anybody else can say that they mustered a couple of podiums in there as well. Of course, the one race you did finish outside the top five, Monza, it did not count. What kept you so competitive all season long? And even though it wasn't always a podium, it was always a top five. It was a strong finish. What was the difference maker for you this season?
I think it's definitely both the car and myself getting more experience. Like obviously before, I've never really had the time or the opportunities to properly learn tracks, but I've throughout these weeks, new job, new opportunities, had more time to practice. Again, I had more options to go through the Go setups as the last few months, Gold 1.8 and 1.9, but again, it's a mixture of everything that and the new car.
Is there anybody finally that you would like to thank or mention here?
Probably Redford. He's obviously when we've been racing together, we've been always in the calls. Um, join us VCs, we're talking around each other. Really, he's been great. Like for me, like company for the races, it gets quite lonely, and I make mistakes when I'm on my own. So it's not my best race on Monza when he wasn't on call, and on same for Suzuka.
Well, you love to hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Malcolm, your season 13 Night Owl Silver Champion. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a nice thing to it. Hopefully, we can make it a pro champion at some point, but that will be a long way away.
Congratulations on your championship. We'll see you out there next time.
See you next time.
But we're going to do one more interview. We meant to have this happen a little bit earlier on in the season. There was communication issues. Nobody, I think, in this field is more familiar with Night Owl than maybe Neil Pimlott. Neil Pimlott coming home top five in the championship in the silver class. Neil, walk us through your championship.
Oh, hi, Jesse. Hi, guys. Yeah, good. Well, it didn't start off too well because I missed the first two races. But after that, picked up I think, a good result. First, pretty good result in Spain. Didn't do too great in Monza, and then a decent finish really in Suzuka. But hats off to Redford and can't pronounce the guy's name. Ulysses. Yeah, they drove really well today. They were just that little bit quicker. I think they outqualified me in qualifying, so I think third was probably where I was going to get today. Yeah, great season.
Yeah, you had a sort of a spin in the race just now. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah, I got into a little bit of a tussle with that IPEC. I think again, if I'm getting his name wrong, apologies. He sort of dive bombed me. I felt a little bit at the hairpin, probably a few laps, maybe that lap actually, or four laps anyway. To put his car in there, I just had to get out of the way, otherwise he was going to go into me. So I lost a place, and I probably shouldn't have battled him because it was pro versus silver, and I ended up sort of trying to get on the inside of him going into turn one, and yeah, just we were close. It's just we just collided, and I came off a little, and I had 15 seconds of damage from that. Didn't repair it in the pits because I knew that my pace was decent still, and I was sort of trying to keep up with Redford and the guys. But I think that probably cost me really.
Yeah, well, you had a good season anyway. You got fifth in the standings. From missing the first two rounds and using one of the drop rounds on Zolder by the looks of it. So you still came out with a decent amount of points. It's a shame you didn't do it from the start of the championship, but these
Yeah,
things happen.
I know. Well,
Um,
I had to miss the first one, and I didn't for some reason sign up in time to then do the second one. I did try ask a few people, but it didn't happen. I was ready. I was here to race, but unfortunately, but yeah, looking at the points, if I'd have probably done as well as some of the other rounds, I may have got third in championships. But I'm a regular here, so I'll be back for next season.
yeah,
You
well,
heard that. A confirmation Neil Pimlot's going to be back. By the way, those curious about Pimlot's stats, he had 3 out of 4 rounds he raced were on the podium. A force to be reckoned with for sure. Back to you.
yeah, it's been a good season. So sorry, I was
Yeah,
just looking at something at the grade, but yeah, you did very well. But yeah,
yeah, it was
you
good.
will be
I
seeing
enjoyed
you
it.
in the next season. So
Yeah, definitely.
nice talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and
Okay.
thank you to all the other drivers out there that make the season what it is, and the commentary team. Brilliant, guys. Take care.
Well, it's absolutely brilliant to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Pimlot, fifth in this championship. He'll be back for more.
Yeah, well, if you like to do some more racing, we still have a championship still going on, Jesse Lee. It is the Monday Championship. It is the BMW Championship that I am taking part in as well. The BMW Academy is still up. You can still sign up mid-season. There is no pre-qualifying, as there is 3 different class of cars. We've used the M2 at the first 2 rounds already, which was Owen Park and Brands Hatch. Next is Watkins Glen this Monday, which is in the M4 GT4. Like I say, no pre-queue, so you could just sign up and join us for a bit of fun racing. I'd like to say it's very different jumping from car to car, but come and join us for that one. And also we have Night Owl on the way. Sign-ups open tomorrow. It is on the website, so you can you have a little read of the description to see what happens and understand what happens in this championship, that championship, whatever you like. But also we have some stuff coming in, some stuff in the works, so keep an eye out for that. But that's all we have so far.
Well, it's going to be an interesting summer, and as we head into season 14 and of Night Owl and the next Friday championship that is soon to come up, and of course the BMW Academy series that are done with touring cars. It's going to be GT3s and GT4 cars for the rest of the season. 2 races. It's a single make series, not multi-class, but 2 races in each. That's going to be interesting. You can still sign up for that, like Ted said. But my goodness, just reflecting on this championship, it's been absolutely brilliant. I had a lot of fun. I can't wait to get back in it for season 14. Pimlot saying they're going to be back. I believe Malcolm alluded that they would be back as well, chasing a second championship. Who knows? Maybe some of the bigger teams are going to show up and continue to show up as where Pole Sim Sport big in RCI now, leaving the mark on their territory. It's going to be fun. Finally, just want to say thank you to all of you at home for being with us, not only tonight, but this entire season. It's been a pleasure to do the broadcast for you this season. I've been on all sorts. I've been the co-commentator, I've been the broadcaster, I've been the
Mm.
the lead comms. at times as well. It's been fun to sit in all the different seats. And I will say, nothing is as crazy and as fun as Night Owl is. So thank you all for being a part of that. Ted, final thoughts, take us out.
Yeah, it was an amazing season 13. Don't forget, season 14 is on the way. Like I keep saying too many times, I'm too excited, Jesse. But yeah, if you enjoyed our live streams, then please like and subscribe and hit the bell to get those notifications. I even get the notifications for our own stream, even when I am commentating it. But yeah, that is it for us, and we will see you next time.